Love is a word that carries countless meanings, emotions, and expectations. It's a force so universal, yet so deeply personal, that it shapes our lives in profound ways. We crave it, celebrate it, mourn its loss, and often define our worth by it. But here's the thing: love, when misunderstood, can become one of the most confusing and even painful aspects of our lives. How often have we heard someone say, "I lost myself in that relationship," or "I gave everything and it still wasn't enough"? These phrases come from a place of genuine emotion, but they also reveal something deeper: an imbalance, a misunderstanding of what love truly is. Many of us equate love with holding on tightly, believing that closeness comes from attachment. But what if the opposite is true? What if real connection thrives when we let go? Buddhist philosophy teaches us that love isn't about losing yourself in someone else. It's about discovering the freedom to be your truest self, while also allowing others to be fully themselves. This freedom is the key to love that doesn't chain us down, but instead lifts us up. It's not about doing less for others or caring any less. It's about approaching love with clarity, balance, and compassion. Let's look at a story that might feel all too familiar. It's about a young woman named Leah. Leah was someone who loved deeply. She had a big heart, and when she loved, she gave it her all. When she met David, it felt like the kind of love she had always dreamed of: intense, passionate, and consuming. In the beginning, everything seemed perfect. They spent hours talking, laughing, and sharing their hopes and dreams. Leah felt seen and cherished in a way she never had before. But as time went on, something began to shift. Leah found herself constantly worrying about David's feelings and needs. She'd cancel plans with her friends if he wanted to see her. She stopped pursuing her hobbies because she wanted to be available whenever he called. Her world became smaller, centered entirely on their relationship. On the surface, it seemed like Leah was just being a devoted partner. But inside, she was starting to feel empty. The things that used to bring her joy, painting, running, and spending time with friends, fell to the wayside. She was so focused on making David happy that she didn't notice how much of herself she was giving away. One day, Leah was scrolling through old photos on her phone and stumbled upon a picture of herself hiking with her best friend, Emma. She looked at her smile in that picture, genuine, carefree, full of life. And something inside her ached. When was the last time she had laughed like that? When was the last time she had done something purely because it made her happy? It wasn't that David was asking her to give up her life. He wasn't a controlling partner. But Leah had slowly convinced herself that love meant sacrificing everything, and that's exactly what she had done. She had attached a sense of worth and happiness entirely to their relationship. And in doing so, she had lost sight of the person she used to be, the person David had fallen in love with in the first place. Leah's story isn't unique. In fact, it's one that many of us have lived in one form or another. Maybe you've been Leah, putting someone else's needs above your own until you barely recognize yourself. Or maybe you've been on the other side, feeling the weight of someone else's dependence on you. Either way, the lesson is the same. Love, when it's rooted in attachment, often leads to imbalance. Attachment in love feels like holding on for dear life, afraid that if you loosen your grip, everything will fall apart. But true love, as taught in Buddhist philosophy, is different. It's about giving without expecting, caring without clinging, and connecting without losing yourself. This doesn't mean you care less. In fact, it's the opposite. When you love without attachment, you're able to love more fully, Because your love isn't tangled up in fear or insecurity. You can appreciate your partner for who they truly are, not for who you want them to be. And just as importantly, you can maintain your own sense of self. Leah's turning point came during a conversation with Emma, her best friend. Emma had noticed Leah pulling away over the past year and decided it was time to speak up. "You know I love you, right?" Emma said one evening over coffee. "But I feel like you've forgotten how to love yourself." Leah felt defensive at first. "What do you mean? I love David. Isn't that what matters?" Emma shook her head gently. "Loving someone else is beautiful, Leah, but it doesn't mean giving up who you are. You're more than just David's partner. You're an artist, a runner, an amazing friend. But lately, it feels like you've put all of that on pause, and I don't think that's what love is supposed to look like." Those words stayed with Leah. For the first time, she began to see how much she had been giving up, not because anyone had asked her to, but because she believed that love required it. She realized that if she wanted her relationship to thrive, she needed to start with herself. Leah's journey wasn't about walking away from David. It was about rediscovering her own worth and passions so she could bring her whole self into the relationship. She started small, saying yes to a weekend hike with Emma, picking up her paintbrush again, and carving out time to be with herself. David noticed the change, and at first he was confused. "Are you pulling away from me?" he asked one day, unsure of what her newfound independence meant. "No," Leah said with a calm smile. "I'm just finding myself again. I think that will make me a better partner for you." What surprised Leah was how much stronger their relationship became. With less pressure on the relationship to fulfill every need, they both felt freer to grow as individuals and as a couple. Their love became less about holding on and more about lifting each other up. Leah's story is a powerful reminder that love doesn't mean giving up who you are. In fact, the healthiest, most fulfilling relationships are the ones where both people can thrive as individuals while also growing together. Buddhist wisdom offers us the tools to navigate this balance. Practices like mindfulness, loving kindness, and compassion help us let go of fear and insecurity, replacing them with trust, presence, and genuine connection. They remind us that love is not a transaction or a contract. It's a gift. And the best gifts come from a place of abundance, not emptiness. When we love without attachment, we're no longer weighed down by the fear of loss or the need to control. Instead, we're free to experience the beauty of connection in its purest form. It's a love that doesn't trap us, but sets us free. If Leah's story resonated with you, it's because love, in all its forms, is something we all experience and strive to understand, whether you're in a relationship, seeking one, or reflecting on past connections. There's always an opportunity to learn, grow, and love more deeply, without losing yourself in the process. This is the kind of love that Buddhist teachings invite us to cultivate. A love that's compassionate, balanced, and rooted in freedom. It starts with understanding yourself, honoring your worth, and letting go of the need to cling. From there, love becomes not just something you give or receive, but something you live. Let's step into this journey together, exploring what it means to love fully, freely, and authentically. This is your chance to embrace a new way of loving, a way that lifts you and those you care about higher than ever before. Because true love doesn't ask you to lose yourself. It inspires you to find yourself. Love is one of life's greatest paradoxes. It has the power to uplift, heal, and inspire, yet it can also confuse, bind, and sometimes even hurt. When we confuse love with attachment, we tether our joy to external conditions, placing the weight of our happiness on the actions, presence, or approval of others. This misunderstanding creates a tension that strains relationships, leaving us feeling drained rather than fulfilled. To truly experience love in its purest form, we must learn to differentiate it from attachment. This isn't about caring less or being detached in the cold, distant sense. It's about freeing love from the fear, control, and insecurity that often accompany attachment. By doing so, we create space for genuine connection, one that doesn't diminish our individuality, but instead nurtures our growth and the growth of those we love. The essence of love without attachment lies in understanding its nature. True love flows freely, like a river, nourishing everything it touches without trying to hold anything captive. It thrives in an environment of trust, respect, and mutual growth. Attachment, on the other hand, feels more like a dam, an attempt to control and contain something that is inherently meant to move and evolve. This chapter dives deep into uncovering the subtle but profound differences between love and attachment, and explores how releasing emotional clinging fosters the kind of connections that elevate us. Attachment disguises itself as love because it speaks in the language of need and dependency. It says, "I need you to stay for me to feel whole," or, "If you leave, my world will crumble." These sentiments, while intense, are rooted in fear rather than love. Attachment clings, suffocates, and seeks to control, all in an effort to avoid pain or loss. It turns love into a transaction where every action and emotion is measured against expectations. True love doesn't seek to control. It recognizes the autonomy of the other person and celebrates it. It doesn't fear loss because it understands that love, in its truest form, is abundant and unending. Love doesn't need to tether someone to feel secure. It thrives in freedom. When love comes from a place of abundance, it doesn't shrink in the face of distance, change, or even separation. Instead, it grows, adapts, and finds new ways to express itself. In Buddhist teachings, attachment is often linked to suffering. The Buddha taught that clinging, whether to people, outcomes, or material possessions, creates a cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. We grasp tightly, believing that what we cling to will bring us happiness or security. Yet, the tighter we hold, the more elusive peace becomes. This applies not only to romantic relationships, but to all forms of connection. We cling to roles, titles, and even the idea of how others should behave toward us, creating a fragile foundation for love. Releasing attachment doesn't mean detaching from people or withdrawing from relationships. Instead, it means letting go of the need to control outcomes or the fear of impermanence. Love is like a bird. It's meant to fly freely. When we try to cage it, its essence fades, and what we're left with is a shadow of love, weighed down by expectations and insecurities. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about freeing both ourselves and others to be fully present and authentic. Attachment often stems from fear of being alone, of losing someone, or of not being enough. This fear leads us to act in ways that don't align with the essence of love. We might become overly accommodating, suppress our own needs, or try to change the other person to fit our ideals. This creates a cycle of dependency that limits both individuals in the relationship. Love, however, is expansive. It encourages growth, individuality, and mutual respect. It says, "I see you as you are, and I honor your journey, even if it diverges from mine." To truly love without attachment, we must cultivate self-awareness. This means recognizing when our emotions are rooted in love and when they're driven by fear or insecurity. Self-awareness allows us to pause and question our motives. Are we giving because we truly want to, or are we seeking validation in return? Are we holding on because of genuine connection, or because we're afraid of letting go? This introspection is the first step toward freeing love from the chains of attachment. Loving without attachment also requires a deep understanding of impermanence. Everything in life, including relationships, is subject to change. People grow, circumstances shift, and what once felt eternal may evolve into something different. This isn't a cause for despair, but an opportunity to embrace the beauty of the present moment. When we accept impermanence, we can appreciate relationships for what they are right now, without clinging to what we wish they would be. This acceptance brings a profound sense of peace and allows love to flow naturally. Compassion is another cornerstone of love without attachment. Compassion isn't about pity or trying to fix someone. It's about being fully present with their joys and struggles, without judgment or expectation. It's the ability to offer support without losing yourself in their emotions. Compassion says, "I'm here for you, but I also honor my own needs and boundaries." This balance ensures that love doesn't become a one-sided effort or a source of resentment. Boundaries play a crucial role in maintaining love without attachment. They are not walls, but bridges, guidelines that allow two people to connect while still respecting each other's individuality. Healthy boundaries prevent enmeshment, where one person's emotions or needs dominate the relationship. They create a space where both individuals can thrive, contributing to the relationship from a place of wholeness rather than dependency. One of the most transformative practices for cultivating love without attachment is mindfulness. Mindfulness invites us to be fully present in our relationships without being weighed down by past grievances or future anxieties. It teaches us to listen with our whole heart, to speak with intention, and to appreciate the simple yet profound moments of connection. When we approach love mindfully, we're able to see the other person clearly without projecting our fears or desires onto them. Trust is another pillar of love without attachment. Trusting someone doesn't mean expecting them to meet all your needs or never disappoint you. It means believing in their intentions and honoring their autonomy. Trust allows love to breathe, to stretch, and to grow. It says, "I believe in you and I believe in us, but I also believe in myself." This kind of trust is rooted in self-confidence and emotional resilience, which are essential for healthy, balanced relationships. Vulnerability often feels like the opposite of detachment, but in reality, it's an integral part of loving freely. When we open ourselves up to another person, we risk being hurt, but we also create the opportunity for deep connection. Vulnerability isn't about exposing every thought or feeling. It's about being honest and authentic, even when it's uncomfortable. This honesty builds intimacy and strengthens the foundation of love. Letting go of attachment doesn't mean letting go of commitment. Commitment in love isn't about possessing someone. It's about choosing to show up for them again and again with an open heart. It's about being present, even when things are difficult, and working together to navigate life's challenges. This kind of commitment is rooted in love, not obligation, and it creates a space where both people can thrive. Ultimately, love without attachment is about freedom. Freedom to be yourself, freedom to grow, and freedom to love in a way that uplifts and inspires. It's about recognizing that love isn't a transaction or a means to fill a void, but a gift we give and receive with open hands. When we let go of the need to cling, control, or possess, we discover a love that is boundless, transformative, and profoundly authentic. This is the kind of love that not only changes relationships, but also changes lives. Love, when approached with freedom, has the power to transform not only relationships, but also the way we experience life itself. As we move beyond the understanding of love without attachment, another profound truth reveals itself: the power of detachment. Detachment is not the absence of care or connection. It is the liberation of love from fear, jealousy, and control. It allows relationships to breathe, grow, and thrive without being weighed down by the insecurities and expectations that often cloud our interactions. Detachment asks us to let go, not of people or love itself, but of the need to hold so tightly that love becomes suffocating. This is not an act of withdrawal, but an act of trust, a trust in the strength of the bond, the authenticity of the connection, and the resilience of the self. It is in this freedom that love can flourish, unburdened by the fears that so often distort its beauty. When love is bound by fear, it creates a cycle of tension and control. Fear whispers, "What if they leave?" or "What if I'm not enough?" This fear-driven mindset can lead to behaviors that stifle both the relationship and the individuals within it. Jealousy becomes a constant shadow, turning every interaction into a test of loyalty. Control becomes a reflex, an attempt to mold the other person into an ideal that feels safe. But these patterns are not born of love. They are born of insecurity. True detachment is an antidote to these fears. It allows us to step back and recognize that love does not need to be controlled to be real. Detachment does not mean indifference. On the contrary, it means being deeply present in the relationship while also honoring the autonomy of both yourself and the other person. It is the ability to say, "I care for you, and I also respect your freedom. I trust that our connection is strong enough to endure without force or fear." One of the most challenging aspects of detachment is releasing the desire to control outcomes. We often believe that by holding on tightly, by trying to manage every aspect of the relationship, we can prevent pain or loss. But this belief is an illusion. Control creates rigidity, and rigidity is the opposite of love's natural state. Love thrives in an environment of trust and flexibility, where both people feel free to express themselves authentically. Detachment also allows us to confront jealousy with clarity. Jealousy is often rooted in the fear of losing something we value. It arises when we view love as a finite resource, something that can be taken away or diminished by others. But love is not a possession, and it cannot be stolen. Detachment reminds us that love is expansive, not exclusive. It is not a competition, but a shared experience. When we let go of the need to control who or how someone loves, we open ourselves to deeper trust and connection. Practicing detachment requires a shift in perspective. It means recognizing that the other person is not responsible for our happiness or sense of worth. This doesn't diminish the importance of their role in our lives. Rather, it empowers both individuals to take responsibility for their own emotional well-being. This independence strengthens the relationship, as both people are free to give and receive love without the burden of unrealistic expectations. Detachment also liberates us from the need to fix or change others. Often we approach relationships with the unconscious belief that if we can just fix someone's flaws or guide them toward a certain path, the relationship will be perfect. But this mindset overlooks a fundamental truth. Love is not about perfection. It is about acceptance. Detachment allows us to see the other person as they are, not as we wish them to be. This acceptance creates a foundation of trust and respect, where both individuals feel valued for who they truly are. At its core, detachment is about trust, not just in the other person, but in the relationship itself. Trust means believing that love can withstand challenges, changes, and even periods of distance. It means having faith in the strength of the connection without needing constant reassurance. Trust, when combined with detachment, creates a bond that is both resilient and freeing. Detachment also helps us navigate conflict with grace. In relationships, disagreements are inevitable, but when we approach conflict with attachment, it often escalates into a struggle for control or validation. Detachment, however, allows us to engage in conflict with an open mind and heart. It teaches us to listen without defensiveness, to express our feelings without blaming, and to seek resolution without needing to win. This approach not only strengthens the relationship, but also deepens mutual understanding and respect. One of the most profound gifts of detachment is the freedom it brings to both individuals. When love is free from fear and control, it becomes a source of inspiration rather than a source of stress. Both people are free to grow, explore, and pursue their individual passions, knowing that the bond between them is not a chain, but a bridge. This freedom fosters creativity, self-expression, and a sense of fulfillment that enriches the relationship as a whole. Detachment also allows us to embrace impermanence with peace. All relationships, no matter how strong, are subject to change. People grow, circumstances shift, and sometimes paths diverge. Detachment helps us to accept these changes without clinging to what once was or fearing what might be. It teaches us to appreciate the present moment and to cherish the connection for what it is, rather than what we wish it to be. This acceptance brings a profound sense of peace, even in the face of uncertainty. Another aspect of detachment is the ability to let go of expectations. Expectations often lead to disappointment because they are rooted in our own desires rather than the reality of the other person. Detachment invites us to approach relationships with openness, allowing them to unfold naturally. This doesn't mean abandoning standards or values. It means recognizing that love cannot be forced into a predefined shape. By letting go of rigid expectations, we create space for the relationship to grow organically. Detachment also nurtures self-love. When we release the need to find validation or fulfillment through someone else, we turn inward to discover our own worth. This self-love is not selfish. It is the foundation of all healthy relationships. It allows us to give and receive love from a place of abundance rather than need. When we love ourselves fully, we are less likely to cling to others out of fear or insecurity. Instead, we approach relationships as a celebration of connection, not a solution to loneliness. Detachment is not something that happens overnight. It is a practice, one that requires patience, mindfulness, and self-compassion. It asks us to examine our fears and insecurities with honesty and to approach them with kindness. It invites us to cultivate habits that support freedom in love, such as meditation, self-reflection, and open communication. These practices help us to let go of the need to control and to embrace the beauty of love in its natural, unbound state. In releasing attachment, we also discover a deeper sense of gratitude. Detachment teaches us to appreciate the people in our lives for who they are, rather than what they can do for us. It shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, creating a sense of abundance and joy. This gratitude enhances our relationships, as it allows us to approach them with an open heart and a generous spirit. Through detachment, love becomes a source of liberation rather than limitation. It frees us from the weight of fear, jealousy, and control, allowing us to experience the true essence of connection. This freedom doesn't diminish the depth of our relationships. It enhances them. It creates a space where love can thrive, unburdened by the insecurities that so often hold it back. In this space, both individuals can grow, flourish, and find joy in the beauty of authentic connection. True freedom in love, as we've explored, begins with detachment, the kind that liberates both ourselves and those we care for. Yet, freedom alone does not make love complete. Love needs nourishment, and one of the most profound ways to cultivate it is through metta, or loving kindness. This ancient Buddhist practice is not just about love, as we traditionally understand it. It's about generating an endless wellspring of goodwill, compassion, and unconditional care for all beings, starting with ourselves. Metta teaches that love is not limited by circumstance, relationship, or expectation. It's a state of being that transforms not only how we connect with others, but also how we understand ourselves. When loving kindness becomes a habit of the heart, it dismantles walls of resentment, softens the grip of anger, and brings clarity to even the most challenging relationships. Its power lies in its simplicity and universality. Anyone can practice it, and its effects ripple far beyond the immediate moment. Practicing metta begins with intention. The mind, like a garden, must be consciously tended to grow seeds of kindness. Without this effort, weeds of judgment, impatience, and negativity can take root, making it difficult for love to flourish. In loving kindness meditation, we intentionally direct our thoughts toward goodwill, starting with ourselves, then extending outward to others. It's not about ignoring pain or pretending all is perfect. Rather, it's about creating space for love to rise, even in the face of difficulties. Self-love is the foundation of metta. Without first cultivating kindness toward ourselves, it becomes challenging to offer it genuinely to others. This isn't self-centeredness, it's self-compassion. Often, we are our harshest critics, holding ourselves to impossible standards and replaying mistakes in our minds. Metta invites us to let go of this harshness. In meditation, we might repeat phrases like, "May I be happy," "May I be healthy," "May I be free from suffering." These words are not magical but intentional. They guide the heart to soften, reminding us that we too are worthy of love. As self-kindness grows, it becomes easier to direct love toward others, even those we struggle to connect with. Metta extends outward in concentric circles, beginning with loved ones, then acquaintances, and eventually reaching all beings, including those we might consider difficult. This practice rewires the mind. Where anger or judgment once lived, metta plants seeds of understanding and compassion. It doesn't mean condoning harmful actions, but it creates a path toward forgiveness, not for their sake, but for ours. Holding on to anger is like carrying a heavy stone. Metta helps us set it down. One of the transformative effects of metta is its ability to dissolve the illusion of separation. Often, we view others through the lens of self and other, creating a mental barrier that limits empathy. Loving kindness meditation reminds us of our shared humanity. Everyone, regardless of background or behavior, desires happiness and freedom from suffering. This simple truth can shift how we interact with others, fostering deeper connections and reducing conflict. Metta also nurtures patience, a quality that strengthens relationships. Patience is not passive tolerance, it's an active commitment to staying present, even when situations are difficult. Loving kindness trains the mind to respond with gentleness rather than reactivity. When someone acts out of anger or frustration, metta helps us see their behavior as a reflection of their inner struggles rather than a personal attack. This perspective doesn't excuse harmful actions, but allows us to approach challenges with clarity and compassion. One of the most practical benefits of metta is its ability to reduce stress. Harboring resentment or dwelling on negative interactions drains mental and emotional energy. By replacing these feelings with loving kindness, we free ourselves from this burden. Studies in neuroscience have shown that regular loving-kindness meditation can increase activity in areas of the brain associated with positive emotions and reduce stress-related inflammation in the body. This is not just a spiritual practice, but a holistic one that benefits the mind and body. In relationships, metta transforms how we communicate. Words spoken from a place of loving kindness are naturally more thoughtful and less reactive. When conflicts arise, metta provides a grounding force, reminding us to listen deeply and speak with care. It shifts the focus from winning an argument to understanding the other person's perspective. Over time, this practice builds trust and deepens bonds, even in the face of disagreements. Metta also cultivates gratitude, a cornerstone of lasting love. Gratitude arises naturally when we practice loving kindness because it shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have. In meditation, as we extend wishes for happiness and health to others, we become more aware of the connections that enrich our lives. This awareness fosters a sense of appreciation for both the big and small ways others contribute to our well-being. Another profound aspect of metta is its ability to heal wounds from the past. Many of us carry unresolved pain from old relationships or interactions that left us hurt or betrayed. These experiences can create emotional scars that affect how we approach love in the present. Loving kindness meditation provides a way to gently confront these wounds, offering forgiveness not just to others, but to ourselves. It's not about erasing the past, but transforming how we hold it in our hearts. Metta also encourages us to love without conditions. In everyday life, it's easy to attach expectations to our acts of love, whether it's a kind gesture, a gift, or emotional support. When these expectations aren't met, disappointment or resentment often follows. Metta breaks this cycle by teaching us to give freely, without strings attached. This unconditional approach to love doesn't diminish its value, it enhances it. It allows us to experience the joy of giving, independent of how it's received. Loving kindness extends beyond personal relationships to how we engage with the world. As we practice metta, we begin to notice subtle changes in how we perceive strangers, colleagues, and even those we might never meet. A sense of goodwill emerges, influencing how we interact with others in small but meaningful ways. Holding the door for someone, offering a kind word, or simply smiling becomes a natural expression of the loving kindness we cultivate within. The practice of metta also deepens self-awareness. As we meditate and repeat phrases of loving kindness, we often encounter resistance, feelings of anger, sadness, or frustration that arise when we direct goodwill toward ourselves or others. These moments are opportunities for growth. They reveal areas where we may be holding on to pain or judgment, allowing us to address these emotions with compassion. This self-awareness is essential for building authentic connections because it helps us approach relationships with greater clarity and emotional balance. Metta fosters resilience, an essential quality for navigating the challenges of love. Relationships, no matter how strong, will encounter difficulties. Disagreements, misunderstandings, and external stresses are inevitable. Loving kindness provides a steady anchor during these times, reminding us to approach challenges with an open heart and a calm mind. This resilience strengthens not only our relationships, but also our ability to navigate life's uncertainties with grace. Metta also invites us to reframe how we view vulnerability. In many ways, loving kindness is an act of vulnerability. It requires us to open our hearts without guarantee of reciprocation. This openness can feel risky, especially in a world that often equates vulnerability with weakness. But in truth, vulnerability is a source of strength. It allows us to connect deeply and authentically, free from the walls of fear or pretense. Metta helps us embrace this openness, recognizing it as a gift rather than a risk. Loving kindness meditation is not limited to formal practice. While sitting quietly and repeating phrases is a powerful way to cultivate metta, its principles can be integrated into daily life. Simple acts, like silently wishing happiness for someone you pass on the street, or taking a moment to appreciate a loved one, bring the practice to life. These small, consistent efforts create a ripple effect, spreading goodwill far beyond what we can see. At its core, metta is about connection. It reminds us that love is not a finite resource, but an infinite capacity within us. As we practice loving kindness, we tap into this wellspring, discovering that the more love we give, the more we have to offer. This abundance transforms not only how we relate to others, but also how we see ourselves and the world. Metta invites us to love boldly, freely, and unconditionally. It challenges us to step beyond our fears, judgments, and insecurities, creating space for a love that is expansive and enduring. Through this practice, we not only nurture our relationships, but also cultivate a profound sense of inner peace. Loving kindness becomes not just something we do, but something we are, a way of being that radiates warmth, compassion, and authenticity in every interaction. Loving kindness teaches us how to open our hearts to the world, embracing ourselves and others with unconditional care. But as this openness deepens, it naturally leads us to compassion, karuna, the active expression of empathy and support for those who suffer. Compassion isn't just a feeling, it's a practice of being fully present with others in their struggles, without being consumed by their pain. This delicate balance allows us to offer genuine care while maintaining our own emotional stability. Compassion flows from a deep recognition of our shared humanity. Every person you encounter carries their own burdens, their own fears, and their own dreams. When we allow ourselves to see these struggles clearly, without judgment or detachment, compassion arises naturally. It's not about pity or trying to fix others, but about holding space for them, being there with an open heart and steady presence. The power of compassion lies in its ability to connect us in ways that transcend words. Often, when someone we care about is hurting, we rush to find solutions or offer advice. While well-intentioned, this approach can sometimes create distance, as it focuses on solving a problem rather than truly understanding it. Compassion, on the other hand, asks us to pause, to listen deeply, and to be present. In this presence, we communicate a simple yet profound message. I see you, and I'm here with you. Practicing compassion requires emotional awareness. To be fully present with someone else's pain, we must first acknowledge and manage our own emotions. This doesn't mean suppressing how we feel, but rather understanding and accepting our emotional responses. By developing this self-awareness, we create the emotional balance needed to support others without being overwhelmed by their struggles. Compassion also involves cultivating patience. Suffering rarely resolves itself quickly, and the process of healing can be slow and unpredictable. When we approach someone's pain with impatience or frustration, it can inadvertently add to their burden. Patience, however, creates a safe space for healing to unfold naturally. It allows us to be present without pressuring the other person to feel better on our timeline. Empathy is a cornerstone of compassion, but it must be paired with boundaries to remain sustainable. Without boundaries, empathy can lead to emotional exhaustion or burnout, especially when supporting someone through prolonged difficulties. Healthy boundaries ensure that we can offer care without neglecting our own well-being. This balance is essential as it allows us to show up fully for others without depleting ourselves. Compassion also challenges us to let go of judgment. When we see someone struggling, it's easy to fall into the trap of analyzing their choices or questioning how they ended up in their situation. But judgment creates distance, making it harder to offer genuine care. Compassion invites us to see beyond the surface, to understand the pain or fear that may be driving their actions. This shift in perspective fosters connection and strengthens bonds. In relationships, compassion transforms how we respond to conflict. When disagreements arise, it's tempting to focus on proving a point or defending our position. Compassion, however, encourages us to look deeper. It asks us to consider what the other person might be feeling and why they might be reacting the way they are. This understanding doesn't mean abandoning our own needs, but it does help us approach conflicts with kindness and a desire for resolution rather than victory. One of the most beautiful aspects of compassion is its ability to heal not only others, but also ourselves. When we extend care to someone in pain, we often find that our own hearts become lighter. This is because compassion fosters a sense of connection, reminding us that we are not alone in our struggles. It breaks down the barriers of isolation and creates a shared space of understanding and support. Compassion is also deeply rooted in action. While empathy allows us to feel another's pain, compassion moves us to act. This action doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It can be as simple as offering a kind word, lending a listening ear, or sitting quietly with someone who needs company. These small acts of care can have a profound impact, creating ripples of kindness that extend far beyond the moment. Practicing compassion also involves embracing vulnerability. To connect deeply with someone else's pain, we must be willing to confront our own. This openness can feel uncomfortable, as it requires us to acknowledge and sit with difficult emotions. But it is through this vulnerability that genuine connection is formed. Compassion teaches us that strength doesn't come from avoiding pain, but from facing it with courage and an open heart. At times, compassion may call us to step outside our comfort zones. Supporting someone in need often requires us to set aside our own preferences or routines. This flexibility is an essential part of compassion, as it shows the other person that we value their well-being over our own convenience. However, This doesn't mean sacrificing our needs entirely. Sustainable compassion balances self-care with care for others, ensuring that we can continue to give without becoming depleted. Compassion also deepens our sense of gratitude. When we are present with someone else's struggles, it reminds us of the blessings in our own lives. This gratitude doesn't diminish their pain, but creates a sense of perspective that can inspire us to approach our own challenges with greater resilience. Gratitude and compassion often feed into one another, creating a cycle of positivity and connection. In challenging situations, compassion helps us to navigate uncertainty with grace. When faced with someone's pain, we may not always know the right thing to say or do. Compassion allows us to embrace this uncertainty, trusting that our presence and care are enough. It reminds us that we don't have to have all the answers to make a difference. Sometimes, simply being there is the greatest gift we can offer. Compassion also teaches us to honor the dignity of those we support. This means approaching their struggles with respect rather than pity or condescension. It's about recognizing their strength and resilience, even in the midst of hardship. By treating others with dignity, we empower them to find their own path forward, rather than imposing our solutions or perspectives onto them. In moments of pain, both for ourselves and others, compassion offers a pathway to peace. It reminds us that suffering is a shared experience, one that connects us all. This shared humanity is a source of strength, as it allows us to face challenges with the knowledge that we are not alone. Compassion transforms pain into an opportunity for connection, growth, and healing. Through compassion, we also learn to let go of the need to fix everything. While it's natural to want to alleviate the suffering of those we care about, some challenges are beyond our control. Compassion teaches us to accept this reality with grace, offering our presence and support without attaching ourselves to specific outcomes. This acceptance creates a space for healing that is free from pressure or expectation. Ultimately, compassion is a practice of love in its purest form. It asks us to step beyond our own needs and preferences, opening our hearts to the joys and struggles of others. Through this practice, we strengthen the bonds that connect us, creating relationships that are grounded in understanding, respect, and care. Compassion is not just a response to suffering, it is a way of being, one that enriches every aspect of our lives. Compassion teaches us to connect deeply, holding space for others with care and presence. But for love and connection to endure, they must be accompanied by equanimity, a quality of calm acceptance that allows us to navigate the inevitable changes and challenges in relationships. Equanimity is the steady heart in the storm, the deep breath when emotions run high, and the quiet strength that keeps us grounded when life pulls us in unexpected directions. Relationships, like everything in life, are dynamic. They grow, evolve, and sometimes dissolve. This ebb and flow can be beautiful, but it can also be unsettling if we resist change or cling to how things once were. Equanimity doesn't mean detaching from the people we care about. Rather, it invites us to meet every moment with balance, trusting in life's natural rhythm. It is a practice of being fully present while releasing the need to control outcomes. At the heart of equanimity is the recognition that change is inevitable. Relationships are not static. They are living connections shaped by time, experiences, and growth. When we cling to a specific version of a relationship, we create tension and suffering. Equanimity invites us to appreciate what is, rather than lamenting what was or fearing what might be. This acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means meeting reality with grace and responding to it thoughtfully. Equanimity also helps us navigate the highs and lows of relationships without becoming overwhelmed. Love often brings joy, but it can also bring pain, frustration, or disappointment. These emotions are natural, but when we allow them to dictate our actions, we lose sight of the bigger picture. Equanimity provides the steadiness needed to engage with these emotions without being swept away by them. It allows us to respond rather than react, creating space for thoughtful decisions. One of the most powerful aspects of equanimity is its ability to dissolve the illusion of control. In relationships, we often try to manage how others think, feel, or act, believing that this will create stability. But this desire for control is an illusion, one that leads to frustration and conflict. Equanimity reminds us that we can only control our own thoughts, actions, and responses. By focusing on what is within our power, we free ourselves from the anxiety of trying to control the uncontrollable. Equanimity also fosters resilience. Relationships, no matter how strong, will encounter challenges. Misunderstandings, conflicts, and external pressures are all part of the journey. Equanimity helps us face these challenges with clarity and calm, rather than panic or avoidance. It gives us the inner strength to weather difficulties without losing our sense of balance, allowing the relationship to emerge stronger on the other side. One of the key practices for cultivating equanimity is mindfulness. By staying present in the moment, we become more aware of our thoughts, emotions, and reactions. This awareness allows us to pause before responding, giving us the opportunity to choose actions that align with our values. Mindfulness also helps us to let go of past grievances and future anxieties, focusing instead on what is happening here and now. This focus creates a sense of peace that can transform how we relate to others. Equanimity also teaches us to embrace uncertainty. In relationships, there are no guarantees. People change, circumstances shift, and the future is always unknown. While this uncertainty can be unsettling, it also holds the potential for growth and discovery. Equanimity invites us to approach the unknown with curiosity rather than fear, trusting that we have the inner resources to navigate whatever comes our way. Another important aspect of equanimity is the ability to maintain emotional boundaries. When we become overly entangled in someone else's emotions, we risk losing our own sense of balance. Equanimity allows us to offer support without absorbing the other person's pain or stress. It helps us to stay grounded, even when those we care about are struggling, ensuring that we can be fully present without becoming overwhelmed. Equanimity also enhances communication. When we approach conversations with a calm and balanced mindset, we are better able to listen deeply and express ourselves clearly. This steadiness reduces the likelihood of misunderstandings and creates a space for open, honest dialogue. Over time, this approach strengthens trust and deepens the connection between both people. In addition to improving communication, equanimity fosters empathy. When we are not consumed by our own emotions, we can better understand the experiences and feelings of others. This understanding creates a sense of connection that strengthens relationships, even in difficult times. Equanimity and empathy work hand in hand, creating a foundation of care and respect. Equanimity also helps us to release expectations. Often we enter relationships with a set of unspoken assumptions about how the other person should behave or what the relationship should look like. When these expectations are not met, it can lead to disappointment and conflict. Equanimity invites us to let go of rigid expectations and approach the relationship with openness. This openness creates space for the relationship to evolve naturally, free from the pressure of unrealistic demands. In moments of conflict, equanimity provides a pathway to resolution. When emotions run high, it can be tempting to escalate the situation or retreat into defensiveness. Equanimity helps us to stay calm and focused, allowing us to address the issue with clarity and compassion. This approach not only resolves the immediate conflict, but also builds a foundation of trust and understanding for the future. Equanimity also encourages us to focus on the process rather than the outcome. In relationships, it's easy to become fixated on achieving specific goals or milestones, such as marriage, children, or financial stability. While these goals are important, equanimity reminds us that the journey itself is just as valuable. By staying present and engaged in the moment, we can fully appreciate the experiences and connections that make the relationship meaningful. One of the most transformative aspects of equanimity is its ability to cultivate gratitude. When we approach relationships with balance and acceptance, we become more attuned to the positive aspects of the connection. This gratitude enriches the relationship, creating a sense of abundance and joy. It also helps us to navigate challenges with a greater sense of perspective, reminding us of the love and support that underpins the relationship. Equanimity also invites us to embrace impermanence. All relationships, no matter how deep or meaningful, are subject to change. This change can take many forms, from the natural evolution of the relationship to the eventual loss of the connection. While impermanence can be difficult to accept, equanimity helps us to approach it with peace. It teaches us to cherish the present moment without clinging to what was or fearing what might be. This acceptance creates a sense of freedom that allows love to flourish. Through equanimity, we also learn to balance independence and connection. Relationships thrive when both people feel free to grow and explore their individuality, while also nurturing the bond between them. Equanimity creates a space where both partners can pursue their own paths without losing sight of each other. This balance strengthens the relationship, as it is built on mutual respect and trust rather than dependency. Equanimity is not a destination, but a practice, one that requires patience, mindfulness, and self-compassion. It asks us to approach relationships with an open heart and a steady mind, embracing the flow of life with grace. Through this practice, we discover a deeper sense of connection and a more profound capacity for love. Equanimity is the calm amidst the storm, the anchor in the waves, and the quiet strength that carries us through the ebb and flow of relationships. Equanimity gives us the strength to accept the natural ebb and flow of relationships. But there's another profound tool that deepens this acceptance and transforms our perspective: gratitude. Gratitude shifts the focus from what we fear to lose to what we have been gifted in this moment. It's a practice that unlocks peace, allowing us to release the grip of clinging and open ourselves to the beauty of the present. When gratitude becomes part of how we live and love, it becomes a path to letting go, not in sorrow, but in appreciation. Letting go can feel like losing control, but gratitude changes this narrative. It teaches us that every experience, every connection, and even every challenge carries something of value. When we focus on what we've gained rather than what we stand to lose, we cultivate a sense of abundance instead of scarcity. Gratitude doesn't deny the reality of impermanence, it embraces it. By appreciating what we have now, we learn to let go gracefully when the time comes. Gratitude is an act of awareness. Often, we move through life so focused on what's missing that we overlook what's already here. This mindset creates a sense of lack, even when we have more than enough. Gratitude interrupts this cycle by directing our attention to the gifts that are often taken for granted, the people who support us, the small joys that brighten our days, and the lessons that help us grow. By consciously acknowledging these blessings, we begin to see the world through a lens of appreciation rather than dissatisfaction. In relationships, gratitude strengthens bonds by shifting the focus from unmet expectations to shared joys. When we approach our connections with a mindset of gratitude, we become more attuned to the positive qualities in others. This shift not only deepens our appreciation for them, but also encourages us to express that appreciation openly. A kind word, a heartfelt thank you, or a simple acknowledgement can transform the energy of a relationship, fostering a sense of warmth and connection. Gratitude also helps us to release resentment. Holding on to anger or disappointment ties us to the pain of the past, making it difficult to move forward. Gratitude offers an alternative path by guiding us to focus on what the relationship has given us, even if it didn't meet all of our hopes or expectations. This doesn't mean ignoring harm or denying hurt, but it does mean choosing to find value in the experience rather than letting it define us. Practicing gratitude requires mindfulness. It's easy to be grateful for the obvious blessings in life, but the practice becomes transformative when we extend it to the small, everyday moments. The warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, the kindness of a stranger. These are the threads that weave a life of meaning. By noticing and appreciating these moments, we cultivate a habit of gratitude that permeates our lives, making even the ordinary feel extraordinary. Gratitude also has the power to dissolve fear. Much of the fear we experience in relationships stems from the possibility of loss. Whether it's the fear of losing a loved one, the fear of rejection, or the fear of change. These emotions can create a sense of insecurity. Gratitude reframes this fear by reminding us that love and connection are gifts, not guarantees. Instead of clinging to what we fear to lose, we learn to cherish what we have now. This shift brings a sense of peace as we realize that the value of a relationship is not diminished by its impermanence. Letting go through gratitude doesn't mean detaching from people or experiences. It means releasing the need to control or cling. When we let go with gratitude, we honor the role that someone or something has played in our lives while accepting that its time may have come to an end. This process is not about pushing away, but about opening our hearts to the flow of life, trusting that each chapter has its own purpose and beauty. Gratitude also deepens self-awareness. By reflecting on what we are grateful for, we gain insight into what truly matters to us. This awareness helps us to align our actions and relationships with our values, creating a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. Gratitude acts as a compass, guiding us toward what brings us joy and away from what no longer serves us. One of the most profound aspects of gratitude is its ability to shift our relationship with pain. Difficult experiences often leave scars, but they also hold lessons. Gratitude doesn't ask us to ignore pain, but invites us to find meaning within it. This perspective transforms suffering into growth, allowing us to appreciate the resilience and wisdom we gain through challenges. By embracing this mindset, we free ourselves from the bitterness that pain can bring and open ourselves to healing. Gratitude also fosters humility. When we recognize the role that others have played in our lives, we become more aware of the interconnectedness of all things. This awareness humbles us, reminding us that we are not self-sufficient but supported by a web of relationships and experiences. This humility deepens our sense of gratitude, creating a cycle of appreciation that enriches our lives. In relationships, gratitude encourages us to focus on what we can give rather than what we can get. When we approach others with a spirit of generosity, we create an environment of mutual care and respect. This giving doesn't have to be grand or material. Often, it's the small acts of kindness, patience, and understanding that mean the most. By cultivating gratitude for the opportunity to give, we shift our perspective from scarcity to abundance. Gratitude also nurtures forgiveness. When we hold on to grievances, we carry the weight of the past into the present. Gratitude lightens this load by helping us to see the positive aspects of even difficult relationships. This doesn't mean condoning harm, but rather finding a way to move forward without being tethered to bitterness. Forgiveness, rooted in gratitude, frees both ourselves and others, allowing us to embrace the present with an open heart. Letting go with gratitude also enhances our ability to live in the moment. When we're constantly striving for the next achievement or fearing the next loss, we miss the beauty of what's right in front of us. Gratitude anchors us in the now, reminding us that this moment is enough. By appreciating what we have, we create a sense of contentment that transcends external circumstances. Gratitude is not always easy. It requires effort, especially during times of difficulty or loss. But it is in these moments that gratitude becomes most powerful. By choosing to focus on what remains rather than what has been lost, we cultivate resilience and hope. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it provides a lens through which we can see the light amidst the darkness. Practicing gratitude also strengthens our sense of purpose. When we recognize the gifts in our lives, we become more aware of the opportunities to share those gifts with others. This sense of purpose enriches our relationships, as it encourages us to contribute meaningfully to the lives of those around us. Gratitude transforms love from a feeling into an action, one that ripples outward to touch the lives of many. Gratitude also invites us to celebrate impermanence. While it's natural to mourn the end of meaningful experiences, gratitude reminds us that their value lies not in their permanence, but in the impact they had on our lives. By appreciating what was, we create space for what is yet to come. This celebration of impermanence allows us to approach life with openness and curiosity, trusting in the unfolding of each moment. Ultimately, gratitude is a practice of liberation. It frees us from the grip of fear, the weight of resentment, and the chains of expectation. By shifting our perspective from lack to abundance, we discover a sense of peace that transcends circumstances. Gratitude is not just a tool for letting go, it is a way of living, one that transforms how we experience love, loss, and everything in between. Through gratitude, we learn that every moment, every connection, and every experience holds something to be cherished. This awareness doesn't diminish the challenges we face, but gives us the strength to meet them with grace. Gratitude is the bridge between holding on and letting go, a path that leads to peace, fulfillment, and a deeper understanding of what it means to truly love. Gratitude teaches us to let go with grace, but often what holds us back from truly releasing is attachment, a quiet, persistent force that can disguise itself as love, care, or loyalty. Recognizing the subtle signs of attachment is one of the most important steps in understanding why we hold on. sometimes to the detriment of our relationships and well-being. Attachment isn't always obvious. It can seep into our actions, thoughts, and feelings in ways that feel natural or justified, yet it can limit our ability to experience connection fully. Attachment thrives on dependency, creating a false sense of security. When we attach ourselves emotionally to someone or something, we place our happiness and stability in their hands. This dependency might start small, like expecting a certain level of attention or reassurance, but over time it can grow into a constant need for validation or control. This shift often happens subtly, making it difficult to notice until it begins to weigh heavily on the relationship. One of the key signs of attachment is the inability to tolerate uncertainty. Relationships, by their nature, are filled with unknowns. People change, circumstances evolve, and no connection is immune to life's unpredictability. Attachment resists this reality, clinging to the idea of permanence and striving to maintain control. This need for certainty can lead to behaviors like overanalyzing interactions, seeking constant reassurance, or trying to predict and prevent every possible outcome. Attachment also reveals itself in the form of over-identification. When we become attached, we often lose sight of where we end and the other person begins. Their feelings, actions, and choices start to feel like extensions of our own. This lack of emotional boundaries can lead to enmeshment, where our well-being becomes entirely tied to the state of the relationship. While connection is an essential part of love, over-identification robs both individuals of their independence and the space needed to grow. Fear of loss is another hallmark of attachment. This fear can manifest in ways that feel protective or even loving, like checking in excessively, avoiding difficult conversations, or sacrificing personal needs to maintain harmony. However, these actions are often driven by anxiety rather than genuine care. The more we fear losing someone, the tighter we hold on, which paradoxically can create tension and distance in the relationship. Jealousy is a common sign of attachment that stems from insecurity. When we are attached, we often perceive others as threats to our bond. This can lead to feelings of possessiveness, comparison, or resentment, even when there's no real basis for these emotions. Jealousy doesn't strengthen love. It erodes trust and creates a dynamic of control rather than connection. Another subtle indicator of attachment is the reluctance to accept change. Whether it's a shift in the relationship, the other person's growth, or the natural ebb and flow of life, attachment resists these changes out of fear. This resistance can lead to conflict as we try to hold on to what feels familiar rather than embracing the evolution of the connection. Letting go of the need for things to stay the same is essential for fostering a healthy, adaptable relationship. Attachment often brings with it an expectation of reciprocity. While mutual care and effort are important in relationships, attachment can turn these expectations into demands. We may start to feel entitled to certain responses or actions, and when these expectations aren't met, disappointment and frustration arise. This creates a transactional dynamic that undermines the authenticity of love. Clinging to past experiences is another way attachment manifests. Whether it's holding on to memories of how things used to be or replaying moments of conflict, this fixation on the past prevents us from fully engaging in the present. It can lead to comparisons, unrealistic expectations, and a sense of dissatisfaction with the current state of the relationship. Attachment can also surface in the form of self-sacrifice. While compromise and care are natural parts of love, Attachment often pushes us to go beyond what is healthy, neglecting our own needs and boundaries to please the other person. Over time, this self-neglect can lead to feelings of resentment or burnout as the relationship becomes imbalanced. The desire for control is another sign of attachment that can strain relationships. This might look like trying to influence the other person's choices, emotions, or actions to align with our preferences. While this desire often comes from a place of fear or insecurity, it undermines trust and respect. True connection thrives on freedom, not control. Recognizing attachment requires honesty and self-awareness. It means examining our actions and emotions with a willingness to see what lies beneath. For example, when we feel hurt or frustrated in a relationship, we can ask ourselves, is this emotion coming from a place of love, or is it rooted in my expectations or fears? This kind of introspection helps us identify patterns of attachment and begin to address them. One of the most challenging aspects of attachment is the way it intertwines with love. Attachment can feel like love because it creates a sense of closeness and dependence. However, love is expansive and freeing, while attachment often feels constrictive and heavy. Learning to distinguish between the two is essential for building healthy, fulfilling relationships. Releasing attachment doesn't mean withdrawing from the relationship or caring less. It means shifting the focus from control and dependency to trust and acceptance. This shift allows us to approach the connection with a sense of curiosity and openness, rather than fear and expectation. It creates space for both individuals to grow and thrive, enriching the bond rather than limiting it. Letting go of attachment also involves embracing vulnerability. Attachment often acts as a shield, protecting us from the discomfort of uncertainty or loss. By releasing this shield, we open ourselves to the full spectrum of emotions that come with love. This openness may feel uncomfortable at first, but it ultimately leads to deeper, more authentic connections. Practicing mindfulness is a powerful tool for addressing attachment. By staying present in the moment, we can observe our thoughts and feelings without becoming entangled in them. This awareness allows us to respond to our emotions with intention rather than reactivity, breaking the cycle of attachment-driven behaviors. Setting healthy boundaries is another important step in releasing attachment. Boundaries create clarity about where we end and the other person begins, allowing both individuals to maintain their independence while fostering connection. These boundaries are not walls, but guidelines that protect the well-being of both people in the relationship. Compassion is also essential in addressing attachment. As we recognize our own patterns of clinging, it's important to approach ourselves with kindness rather than judgment. Attachment often arises from deep-seated fears and insecurities, and healing these patterns requires patience and understanding. By offering ourselves compassion, we create a supportive environment for growth and transformation. Letting go of attachment is not a one-time event, but an ongoing practice. It involves continually choosing trust over control, acceptance over resistance, and love over fear. As we cultivate this practice, we begin to experience relationships in a new way, one that is grounded in freedom, authenticity, and mutual respect. Recognizing the subtle signs of attachment is a journey of self-discovery. It invites us to look closely at our relationships and ourselves, uncovering the fears and expectations that hold us back. Through this awareness, we can begin to release the grip of attachment, creating space for love to flow freely and deeply. In this space, relationships become not only a source of joy, but also a path to greater self-awareness and inner peace. Recognizing attachment gives us clarity about the barriers we place in relationships, but beneath attachment often lies a deeper force: fear and insecurity. These emotions can quietly shape our actions, pushing us toward control, doubt, or withdrawal. Transforming these emotions into trust is not about ignoring them or pretending they don't exist. It's about understanding their roots and allowing trust to emerge as a stronger foundation for connection. Fear and insecurity, when left unchecked, can cloud even the most loving relationships. However, when transformed, they pave the way for deeper respect, authenticity, and mutual growth. Fear often stems from the unknown. In relationships, this might mean fear of being hurt, abandoned, or misunderstood. While these fears are natural, they can become overwhelming when we let them dictate our actions. Fear-driven behaviors like overanalyzing, clinging, or avoiding vulnerability create a cycle of tension and mistrust. Trust, on the other hand, invites us to step into the unknown with confidence, not in the absence of fear, but in spite of it. Trust is the act of saying, even though I cannot guarantee the outcome, I choose to believe in the connection. One way to transform fear into trust is by addressing the stories we tell ourselves. Fear often thrives on worst-case scenarios, creating narratives that amplify insecurity. For example, a missed text becomes a sign of disinterest, or a disagreement signals the end of the relationship. These stories feed our doubts and make it difficult to see the situation clearly. By questioning these narratives, we can begin to separate fact from fear, allowing trust to take root. Insecurity often goes hand in hand with fear. It whispers that we are not enough, that we must prove our worth, or seek constant validation to be loved. This belief can lead to patterns of people-pleasing, jealousy, or overcompensation. Transforming insecurity requires us to shift the focus inward, cultivating self-worth independent of external validation. When we trust ourselves, we no longer rely on others to fill the gaps in our confidence, and this inner trust naturally extends to our relationships. Communication plays a vital role in replacing fear with trust. When fear arises, it's easy to withdraw or act defensively, but this only deepens the divide. Open and honest communication, on the other hand, creates a bridge of understanding. Sharing our fears and insecurities with vulnerability can feel risky, but it often leads to deeper connection. It allows the other person to understand our perspective and respond with care, building a foundation of mutual respect. Boundaries are another essential tool for transforming fear and insecurity. Fear often tempts us to blur boundaries in an attempt to feel closer or more secure. However, healthy boundaries create clarity and respect, which are the building blocks of trust. They allow both people to navigate the relationship with a sense of safety and autonomy, reducing the need for control or fear-driven behaviors. Trust also requires patience. Fear and insecurity don't disappear overnight, and building trust takes time. This process involves consistently choosing actions that align with trust rather than fear. For example, instead of seeking constant reassurance, we can practice self-soothing and remind ourselves of the strength of the connection. Over time, these small choices build a sense of security that replaces the need for fear-driven actions. Another powerful way to transform fear into trust is by embracing vulnerability. Fear often urges us to protect ourselves by putting up walls or avoiding emotional risks. While this might feel safer in the moment, it prevents true connection. Vulnerability, on the other hand, creates an opportunity for intimacy and trust. By being open about our feelings, even when it's uncomfortable, we invite the other person to do the same, deepening the bond between us. Fear and insecurity are often rooted in past experiences. Perhaps we've been hurt, betrayed, or abandoned before, and these memories influence how we approach new relationships. Transforming these emotions requires us to confront and process these past wounds. This might involve reflecting on what we've learned from those experiences, forgiving ourselves or others, and choosing to move forward without letting the past define our present. Trust also involves letting go of control. Fear often tempts us to micromanage relationships, trying to steer every interaction or outcome to avoid discomfort. However, control creates tension and limits the natural flow of connection. Trust invites us to release this need for control, allowing the relationship to evolve organically. It's a practice of surrender, rooted in the belief that the bond is strong enough to withstand uncertainty. Self-awareness is key in transforming fear and insecurity. By recognizing when these emotions arise, we can choose to respond intentionally rather than reacting impulsively. For example, when jealousy surfaces, we can pause and ask ourselves what's triggering the emotion. This self-awareness helps us to address the underlying fear or insecurity rather than projecting it onto the other person. Empathy also plays a crucial role in building trust. When we approach the relationship with an understanding of the other person's feelings and perspectives, we create a space for mutual care. Empathy helps us to see beyond our own fears and insecurities, fostering a sense of connection that strengthens trust. It reminds us that the other person is not our adversary, but our ally in navigating challenges. Trust is not about blind faith. It's about making choices that reflect confidence in the relationship. This includes acknowledging and addressing issues as they arise, rather than avoiding them out of fear. Trust involves honesty, both with ourselves and with the other person, about what we need, feel, and hope for. This honesty creates a foundation of transparency that fear cannot undermine. Practicing gratitude is another way to transform fear and insecurity into trust. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, creating a sense of abundance that reduces the grip of fear. When we appreciate the positive aspects of the relationship, we're less likely to dwell on insecurities or anticipate loss. Gratitude helps us to approach the connection with a sense of trust and contentment. Trust also requires resilience. Relationships are not without challenges, and setbacks can trigger fear or doubt. Resilience allows us to face these moments with strength and grace, choosing to trust in the bond rather than succumbing to fear. It's about seeing challenges as opportunities for growth, both individually and as a couple, rather than as threats to the relationship. Transforming fear and insecurity into trust also involves cultivating self-compassion. When we are kind to ourselves, we create an inner environment of safety and acceptance. This self-compassion reduces the need to seek constant reassurance from others, as we learn to provide it for ourselves. It also helps us to navigate mistakes or missteps in the relationship with forgiveness rather than self-criticism. Ultimately, trust is a choice to believe in the strength of the connection, the integrity of the other person, and our own ability to navigate challenges. It's not about eliminating fear and insecurity entirely, but about refusing to let them control our actions. Trust is the antidote to fear, the steady ground beneath our feet as we navigate the uncertainties of love. Through patience, self-awareness, and open-heartedness, we can transform fear and insecurity into a foundation of trust that enriches every aspect of our relationships. Trust transforms relationships, allowing us to replace fear and insecurity with a sense of mutual respect and understanding. Yet trust alone thrives best when accompanied by clear, healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not walls that divide us. They are bridges that create spaces for freedom, respect, and deeper connection. The idea of boundaries can sometimes evoke fear, as if setting limits might distance us from the people we care about. But in truth, boundaries are a profound act of love, both for ourselves and for those we share relationships with. Boundaries allow relationships to flourish because they clarify expectations and ensure that each person's needs and values are respected. They prevent misunderstandings and conflicts by creating a framework for healthy interaction. Without boundaries, relationships can easily become enmeshed, where individuality is lost or imbalanced, where one person's needs consistently overshadow the others. Setting boundaries ensures that both people feel seen, valued, and supported in the connection. One of the most important aspects of boundaries is that they are rooted in self-awareness. To set meaningful boundaries, we must first understand our own needs, values, and limits. This requires reflection and honesty with ourselves about what feels comfortable, what feels overwhelming, and where we draw the line. Self-awareness helps us communicate our boundaries clearly and confidently, without guilt or defensiveness. Boundaries are not about rejecting others. They are about protecting what is most important to us. When we set a boundary, we are not saying, "I don't care about you." We are saying, "I care about this relationship, and I want it to be healthy and sustainable." This perspective shifts the focus from restriction to connection, showing that boundaries are a way to nurture the relationship rather than distance ourselves from it. In relationships, boundaries create a balance between togetherness and individuality. They allow each person to maintain their sense of self while also fostering a strong connection. This balance is essential for healthy relationships, as it prevents dependency and ensures that both individuals have the space to grow and pursue their passions. When boundaries are respected, they create a foundation of trust and respect that strengthens the bond. One common misconception about boundaries is that they are rigid or inflexible. In reality, boundaries are dynamic and can evolve over time as the relationship grows and changes. What feels comfortable today may shift as circumstances or needs change, and it's important to revisit and adjust boundaries as necessary. This flexibility shows that boundaries are not about control, but about creating a relationship that works for both people. Communicating boundaries is a key part of the process, and this requires both clarity and compassion. When expressing a boundary, it's important to be direct and specific, explaining what you need and why it matters to you. At the same time, it's essential to approach the conversation with kindness, showing that your intention is to strengthen the relationship rather than create distance. This balance between firmness and empathy helps the other person understand and respect your perspective. Listening is equally important when it comes to boundaries. Just as we need to express our own needs, we must also be willing to hear and honor the boundaries of others. This mutual respect creates a sense of equality in the relationship, where both people feel valued and understood. By actively listening and responding with care, we show that we are invested in the health and well-being of the connection. Boundaries also help us navigate conflict in relationships. When disagreements arise, clear boundaries provide a framework for addressing the issue without escalating tension. They allow us to express our feelings and perspectives while respecting the other person's limits, creating a space for resolution rather than division. Boundaries help us approach conflict with patience and understanding, fostering a sense of safety even in challenging moments. Another benefit of boundaries is that they reduce resentment. When we ignore our own needs or allow others to overstep our limits, frustration and bitterness can build over time. Setting boundaries prevents this by ensuring that our needs are met and that we feel respected in the relationship. This proactive approach creates a sense of balance and harmony, reducing the likelihood of resentment or conflict. Boundaries also play a crucial role in maintaining emotional energy. Relationships that lack boundaries can become draining, as we give more than we have to offer or take on responsibilities that are not ours to bear. Healthy boundaries ensure that we have the energy and capacity to show up fully in the relationship without feeling overwhelmed or depleted. They help us to prioritize self-care, which in turn allows us to care for others more effectively. Boundaries are also an expression of self-respect. When we set and uphold boundaries, we are affirming our own worth and showing that we value our needs and well-being. This self-respect inspires others to treat us with the same level of care and consideration, creating a culture of mutual respect in the relationship. Boundaries are not about demanding respect from others, but about modeling it for ourselves. Trust and boundaries go hand in hand. By setting boundaries, we show that we trust the other person to honor our needs and respect our limits. At the same time, boundaries create an environment where trust can grow, as they provide clarity and prevent misunderstandings. This reciprocal relationship between trust and boundaries strengthens the foundation of the connection, making it more resilient and fulfilling. Boundaries also allow us to love more authentically. When we set boundaries, we are not hiding our true selves or suppressing our needs. We are expressing them openly and honestly. This authenticity deepens the connection, as it creates a relationship that is built on truth rather than pretense. By being clear about what we need, we give the other person the opportunity to know and love us for who we truly are. Boundaries are not about creating distance, but about creating clarity. They help us to navigate the complexities of relationships with intention and care, ensuring that both people feel valued and supported. By setting and respecting boundaries, we create a space where love can thrive, free from resentment, misunderstanding, or imbalance. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if we are not used to advocating for our own needs. However, this discomfort is often a sign of growth. Each time we set a boundary, we strengthen our ability to communicate, connect, and care for ourselves and others. Over time, this practice becomes more natural, allowing us to approach relationships with greater confidence and ease. Boundaries are also a way to protect the integrity of the relationship. When we allow others to overstep our limits or ignore our own needs, it can lead to frustration and conflict. By setting clear boundaries, we create a structure that supports the health and longevity of the connection. Boundaries act as a safeguard, ensuring that the relationship remains balanced and fulfilling. Ultimately, boundaries are an act of love. They show that we care enough about ourselves and the other person to create a relationship that is respectful, balanced, and sustainable. By setting healthy boundaries, we nurture both freedom and closeness, creating a connection that is grounded in mutual respect and authenticity. Boundaries are not barriers. They are the foundation upon which love can grow and thrive. Healthy boundaries create clarity and protect the balance of love, But there's another dynamic that can silently undermine relationships if left unchecked: jealousy and possessiveness. These emotions, though natural in moments of insecurity, can distort our ability to love freely and authentically. Overcoming jealousy and possessiveness requires us to look inward, observing these feelings without judgment, and learning to release them before they cloud our relationships. Mindfulness offers a path to do just that, a way to gently untangle the knots of fear and comparison that often fuel these emotions. Jealousy is born from comparison and the fear of loss. It tells us that we might not be enough, that someone else could replace us, or that the connection we cherish is at risk. These thoughts, though often exaggerated, create a cycle of doubt and tension that can damage trust and intimacy. Mindfulness allows us to pause and examine these feelings as they arise, giving us the space to understand their origins without letting them control our actions. Possessiveness, on the other hand, stems from a desire to protect what feels precious. While this instinct might come from love, it often manifests as control or restriction, stifling the freedom that relationships need to thrive. Through mindfulness, we can recognize the difference between caring deeply and holding too tightly. This awareness helps us shift from a mindset of ownership to one of partnership, where both people are free to grow and connect without fear of constraint. A key aspect of mindfulness is learning to observe emotions without becoming entangled in them. When jealousy arises, it can feel overwhelming, pulling us into a spiral of thoughts that amplify the feeling. Mindfulness teaches us to step back, to notice the emotion as it is, a temporary reaction rather than an absolute truth. By doing so, we create distance between ourselves and the emotion, allowing us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Mindfulness also encourages curiosity about our emotions. Instead of pushing jealousy or possessiveness away, we can approach them with a sense of inquiry. What is this feeling trying to tell me? What fear or insecurity lies beneath it? This gentle exploration often reveals unmet needs or past experiences that are influencing the present moment. Understanding these roots is the first step in addressing and transforming them. In relationships, communication is essential for overcoming jealousy and possessiveness. Mindfulness helps us communicate these feelings in a way that fosters connection rather than conflict. Instead of accusing or blaming, we can express our emotions with honesty and vulnerability. For example, instead of saying, "You always make me jealous," we might say, "I feel insecure when this happens, and I'd like to work through it together." This approach invites collaboration and understanding, strengthening the bond rather than creating distance. Another benefit of mindfulness is its ability to ground us in the present moment. Jealousy and possessiveness often stem from imagined scenarios or past experiences that we project onto the current relationship. By focusing on the here and now, mindfulness helps us to see the relationship as it truly is, rather than through the lens of fear or assumption. This clarity allows us to appreciate the connection without letting past wounds or future anxieties overshadow it. Mindfulness also cultivates self-awareness, which is crucial for addressing jealousy and possessiveness. These emotions often arise when we feel disconnected from our own sense of worth. By turning inward and exploring our thoughts, beliefs, and patterns, we can identify the insecurities that fuel these feelings. This self-awareness empowers us to address the root causes of jealousy and possessiveness, rather than simply managing their symptoms. Another powerful tool in mindfulness is self-compassion. When jealousy or possessiveness arises, it's easy to judge ourselves harshly for feeling this way. This self-criticism only deepens the emotional turmoil, making it harder to move forward. Self-compassion, however, allows us to approach these emotions with kindness and understanding, recognizing that they are part of the human experience. This gentleness creates a safe space for healing and growth. Practicing gratitude is another way mindfulness can help us overcome jealousy and possessiveness. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we fear to lose to what we already have, creating a sense of abundance and contentment. By appreciating the positive aspects of the relationship, we reduce the grip of fear and comparison, fostering a sense of trust and security. Letting go of control is a significant step in addressing possessiveness. Relationships are not about owning or managing another person's choices. They are about supporting and celebrating each other's individuality. Mindfulness helps us recognize when we are trying to control the relationship and guides us to release this need. This letting go doesn't mean detachment, but rather an embrace of trust, allowing the relationship to flourish naturally. Mindfulness also encourages us to focus on our own growth and fulfillment. When we become overly focused on the relationship as our sole source of happiness, jealousy and possessiveness can intensify. By nurturing our passions, interests and self-care, we create a sense of wholeness that reduces the need to cling or compare. This self-reliance enriches the relationship as it allows us to bring our best selves to the connection. Empathy is another quality that mindfulness fosters, helping us to understand the other person's perspective. When jealousy or possessiveness arises, it's easy to become consumed by our own emotions and lose sight of the other person's feelings. Mindfulness encourages us to step into their shoes, to consider their experiences and intentions with compassion. This shift in perspective often diffuses tension and strengthens the bond. One of the most transformative aspects of mindfulness is its ability to teach us impermanence. Relationships, like all things in life, are dynamic and ever-changing. Jealousy and possessiveness often stem from a desire to hold on to what feels secure, but this desire is rooted in the illusion of permanence. Mindfulness helps us to embrace change as a natural part of love, allowing us to cherish the connection without fearing its evolution. Another practice that mindfulness encourages is detachment from outcomes. When we become fixated on a specific vision of how the relationship should look or progress, we create pressure and expectations that can fuel jealousy and possessiveness. Mindfulness invites us to release these attachments, focusing instead on the present moment and the shared experiences that make the relationship meaningful. Mindfulness also helps us to recognize and honor boundaries, both our own and those of others. Jealousy and possessiveness often blur these boundaries, creating dynamics that feel suffocating or imbalanced. By staying present and attuned to our emotions, we can identify when boundaries are being crossed and take steps to restore balance. This respect for boundaries fosters a sense of safety and freedom in the relationship. Ultimately, mindfulness teaches us that love is not about possession, but about presence. It's about being fully engaged in the connection without trying to control or own it. This presence allows us to appreciate the beauty of the relationship as it is, without letting fear or insecurity distort it. Through mindfulness, we learn to approach love with openness, trust, and authenticity, creating a foundation that is strong enough to weather any storm. By observing and releasing emotions like jealousy and possessiveness through mindfulness, we not only transform our relationships, but also deepen our understanding of ourselves. These emotions, when faced with compassion and curiosity, become opportunities for growth and connection. Mindfulness reminds us that love is not a competition or a transaction, but a shared journey of mutual respect and care. In this journey, we discover that the freedom to love and be loved begins with the freedom to let go of fear and comparison. Mindfulness helps us release jealousy and possessiveness, teaching us to trust the flow of relationships rather than clinging to control. Yet, beneath these emotions often lies a deeper challenge: accepting the impermanence of love. Relationships, like everything in life, are not static. They grow, shift, and sometimes fade. Embracing impermanence is not about resigning ourselves to loss, but about finding beauty and resilience in the natural evolution of connection. It's about cherishing the present without being weighed down by fear of change or the longing for permanence. Impermanence is an undeniable truth of life. Everything we hold dear, relationships, experiences, even the people we love, is subject to change. This reality can feel daunting because it highlights how little control we have over the things we value most. But impermanence is also what makes love precious. When we recognize that nothing lasts forever, we are reminded to treasure the moments we have now rather than taking them for granted. One of the first steps in embracing impermanence is shifting our perspective on change. Often we view change as something to resist or fear, especially in relationships. But change is not inherently negative. It's a natural part of growth. Just as seasons transform the landscape, relationships evolve as individuals grow and circumstances shift. This evolution doesn't diminish the value of love. It enhances it, as it reflects the dynamic, living nature of connection. Accepting impermanence requires letting go of the need for certainty. In relationships, we often seek guarantees, promises that the connection will never fade or that the other person will remain the same. These assurances, while comforting, are ultimately illusions. Love thrives not because it is certain, but because it is alive. By releasing the need for guarantees, we create space for the relationship to unfold authentically, without the weight of unrealistic expectations. Impermanence also invites us to redefine what it means for a relationship to succeed. Success is not measured by how long a relationship lasts, but by the depth and authenticity of the connection. A relationship that lasts a lifetime, but is filled with resentment or indifference, is not necessarily more meaningful than one that ends after a few years, but was marked by genuine love and growth. Embracing impermanence helps us to focus on the quality of the relationship rather than its duration. Gratitude plays a vital role in accepting impermanence. When we appreciate the moments we share with others, we become less preoccupied with how long those moments will last. Gratitude anchors us in the present, reminding us that the value of a relationship lies not in its permanence, but in the joy, lessons, and connection it brings. This shift in focus transforms our experience of love, allowing us to engage with it more fully and freely. Impermanence also challenges us to let go of attachment. Attachment often arises when we cling to a specific version of a relationship, resisting its natural evolution. This clinging creates tension as it tries to hold on to something that is constantly changing. Letting go of attachment doesn't mean abandoning the relationship. It means releasing the need to control it. This release allows the connection to grow and adapt, fostering resilience and depth. When we embrace impermanence, we also learn to navigate loss with greater grace. Loss is an inevitable part of love, whether it comes through the end of a relationship, physical separation, or the passing of a loved one. While loss is painful, it also reflects the depth of our connection. The pain of losing someone is a testament to the love we shared. By accepting this reality, we can honor the relationship even as we let it go. Impermanence teaches us to value the journey of love rather than fixating on the destination. Relationships are not about reaching a final state of perfection or stability. They are about growing, learning, and connecting along the way. This perspective helps us to approach love with curiosity and openness, embracing each stage of the relationship as an opportunity for discovery. Impermanence also deepens our capacity for forgiveness. When we hold on to grievances or resentments, we create a sense of permanence around the pain, as if it defines the entire relationship. Embracing impermanence reminds us that people change and that mistakes do not have to define them. This awareness helps us to let go of past hurts and approach the relationship with compassion and understanding. In relationships, impermanence challenges us to balance presence and detachment. Presence means being fully engaged in the moment, appreciating the connection as it is. Detachment means releasing the need to control or cling to the relationship, trusting that it will unfold as it is meant to. This balance allows us to love deeply without becoming entangled in fear or expectation. Impermanence also encourages us to embrace vulnerability. Loving someone means opening ourselves to the possibility of change and loss. This vulnerability can feel uncomfortable, but it is also what makes love meaningful. By embracing impermanence, we accept this vulnerability as a natural part of connection, allowing us to love more authentically and courageously. When we accept impermanence, we also become more resilient. Resilience doesn't mean avoiding pain or difficulty. It means facing them with strength and grace. Relationships will inevitably encounter challenges, and the ability to adapt and grow through these moments is what sustains them. Embracing impermanence helps us to approach these challenges with a mindset of growth rather than resistance. Impermanence also fosters a sense of humility. It reminds us that we are not in control of everything, and that love, like life, is a gift rather than a guarantee. This humility deepens our appreciation for the people we care about, as it reminds us to cherish them while we have them. It also helps us to approach relationships with a spirit of gratitude rather than entitlement. In moments of difficulty, impermanence can offer comfort. When we face conflict or uncertainty in a relationship, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or discouraged. But impermanence reminds us that these moments, like all things, will pass. This awareness helps us to navigate challenges with patience and perspective, trusting that change can lead to growth and renewal. Impermanence also encourages us to focus on what truly matters. When we recognize that time is finite, we are less likely to get caught up in trivial concerns or superficial expectations. Instead, we prioritize the aspects of the relationship that bring joy, connection, and meaning. This focus creates a sense of alignment and purpose, enriching the relationship and deepening our sense of fulfillment. Ultimately, embracing impermanence is an act of love. It allows us to appreciate the present without being consumed by fear of the future or regret for the past. It teaches us that love is not about possession or permanence, but about presence and connection. By accepting the natural evolution of relationships, we create space for love to thrive, free from the weight of clinging or resistance. In this acceptance, we discover a deeper, more resilient form of love, one that is grounded in gratitude, trust, and the beauty of impermanence. Embracing impermanence teaches us to cherish the fluidity of love, to accept its natural changes, and to honor the moments it brings without clinging to guarantees. From this foundation of acceptance, another profound practice emerges: the art of loving freely. Loving freely is not about detachment from care or commitment, but rather about giving love without strings, conditions, or expectations. It is about offering your heart without waiting for something in return, finding joy in the act of loving itself. Love, when tied to expectations, becomes a transaction rather than a gift. Expectations create a quiet tension in relationships, where the giver measures their actions against what they hope to receive. This dynamic shifts the focus from connection to outcome, and it can lead to frustration or disappointment when those expectations go unmet. Loving freely, however, releases this tension. It allows love to flow naturally, transforming it from a demand into an offering. It becomes an act of generosity rather than a means to an end. One of the most liberating aspects of loving freely is that it frees us from the weight of control. When we give love with expectations, we often try to shape the other person's response. We may look for validation, appreciation, or reciprocation, and when these responses don't align with our hopes, it can lead to resentment. Loving freely removes this pressure. It allows us to focus on the joy of giving rather than the uncertainty of receiving, fostering a sense of freedom and authenticity in the relationship. Loving freely also deepens the quality of our connections. When love is offered without conditions, it creates an environment of trust and safety. The other person feels valued for who they are, rather than for how well they meet our expectations. This unconditional acceptance encourages openness and vulnerability, strengthening the bond between both people. To love freely requires a shift in mindset. It means moving from a focus on scarcity to one of abundance. Scarcity tells us that love is limited, that by giving we risk losing something or being left with less. Abundance, however, reminds us that love is not a finite resource. The more we give, the more it grows, within us and in the connections we nurture. This shift allows us to love with a sense of generosity and courage, without fear of depletion. Loving freely also invites us to examine our own needs and motivations. Sometimes, the expectations we attach to love stem from unmet needs or insecurities. For example, we might give affection in the hope of feeling valued or appreciated. By practicing self-awareness, we can identify these underlying motivations and address them within ourselves, rather than projecting them onto the relationship. This self-reflection creates a foundation of inner stability, from which we can offer love freely and authentically. Another powerful aspect of loving freely is the way it transforms conflict. When love is tied to expectations, disagreements can feel like a threat to the relationship, as if the balance of giving and receiving has been disrupted. Loving freely, however, shifts the focus from keeping score to understanding and connection. It allows us to approach conflict with curiosity and compassion, prioritizing the relationship over the need to be right or validated. Loving freely also teaches us to let go of outcomes. Often, we give love with the hope of achieving a specific result, whether it's deepening the relationship, resolving a conflict, or influencing the other person's behavior. While these intentions may come from a place of care, they can also create pressure and limit the natural flow of the connection. Loving freely means trusting the process of love, releasing the need for control and accepting the outcome, whatever it may be. This practice of offering love without expectations doesn't mean neglecting our own needs or becoming a martyr. Loving freely is not about sacrificing our well-being for the sake of others. It's about balancing generosity with self-care. By setting healthy boundaries and honoring our own limits, we ensure that our love comes from a place of wholeness rather than obligation or depletion. This balance allows us to give freely while maintaining our sense of self. Loving freely also nurtures gratitude. When we give love without expecting something in return, we become more attuned to the beauty of the present moment. We find joy in the act of giving itself, rather than waiting for validation or acknowledgement. This gratitude deepens our appreciation for the relationship as it shifts our focus from what we hope to receive to what we already have. The art of loving freely also extends beyond romantic relationships. It can be practiced in our friendships, family connections, and even our interactions with strangers. Whether it's offering a kind word, a thoughtful gesture, or simply our presence, loving freely enriches all forms of connection. It reminds us that love is not limited to grand expressions, but is found in the small, everyday acts of care and attention. One of the most profound effects of loving freely is the way it transforms our sense of self. When we give love without conditions, we release the need for external validation. This shift helps us to cultivate self-worth that is rooted in our own values and actions, rather than in how others respond to us. Loving freely becomes an expression of our own authenticity, a reflection of who we are, rather than a strategy to gain approval. Loving freely also fosters resilience in relationships. Expectations can create fragility as they make the relationship dependent on specific conditions or outcomes. When those conditions are not met, the connection can feel strained or broken. Loving freely, however, builds a foundation of strength and adaptability. It allows the relationship to weather challenges and changes without losing its core of care and respect. One of the keys to loving freely is practicing mindfulness. By staying present, we can fully engage in the act of loving without becoming preoccupied with what might come next. Mindfulness helps us to appreciate the moment, to savor the connection as it is, and to let go of the need for guarantees or returns. This presence transforms love into a gift, freely given and freely received. Loving freely also invites us to embrace vulnerability. To love without expectations means opening ourselves to the possibility of disappointment or rejection. This vulnerability can feel uncomfortable, but it is also what makes love meaningful. By embracing this openness, we create space for deeper connection and intimacy, as we are no longer holding back out of fear. The art of loving freely is a practice, not a destination. It requires patience, self-awareness, and a willingness to grow. Each time we choose to love without expectations, we strengthen our ability to give and connect authentically. Over time, this practice becomes a way of being, one that transforms not only our relationships, but also our understanding of love itself. Loving freely is a powerful expression of freedom. Freedom from the weight of expectations, the need for control, and the fear of loss. It allows us to love wholeheartedly without reservation or hesitation. In this freedom, we discover a deeper, more enduring joy, as we find that the act of loving is its own reward. Through the art of loving freely, we learn that love is not about what we get, but about what we give. And in this giving, we find a boundless source of connection and fulfillment. Loving freely teaches us the beauty of giving without expectations, creating relationships that thrive on authenticity and mutual respect. Yet, even in the most generous expressions of love, there is another essential balance to maintain: preserving independence while fostering meaningful connection. Love, when misunderstood, can sometimes blur the lines of individuality, leaving one's sense of self overshadowed by the bond. True connection, however, doesn't demand the sacrifice of independence. Instead, it thrives when two complete individuals come together, enriching each other's lives without losing themselves. Maintaining independence in a relationship begins with self-awareness. It's about understanding who you are, what you value, and what drives you. This awareness acts as an anchor, keeping you grounded in your individuality while navigating the tides of connection. Without this sense of self, it's easy to become overly influenced by the relationship, leading to a loss of personal identity. By staying connected to your own passions, values, and goals, you ensure that your individuality remains intact. Independence is not about isolation or self-reliance to the exclusion of others. It's about cultivating a life that is fulfilling on its own, where your happiness and sense of purpose don't depend entirely on the relationship. This self-sufficiency allows you to approach the connection from a place of abundance rather than need, offering your presence and care without the pressure of making the other person responsible for your well-being. Connection, on the other hand, is the bridge that allows two individuals to share their lives meaningfully. It's about creating a space where both people feel valued, supported, and understood. Balancing connection and independence means weaving these two elements together, ensuring that the bond enhances your life without consuming it. This balance creates a dynamic relationship where both people can grow individually and together. One of the challenges in balancing independence and connection is managing boundaries. Independence requires space to pursue your own interests and maintain your identity, while connection involves sharing and intertwining parts of your life with another person. Boundaries help to define where one ends and the other begins, ensuring that both individuals feel respected and free. Clear communication about these boundaries fosters understandings and prevents misunderstandings. Balancing independence and connection also involves mutual respect. Respecting the other person's individuality means honoring their need for space, acknowledging their passions, and supporting their growth. At the same time, it's important to advocate for your own needs, ensuring that the relationship doesn't overshadow your identity. This mutual respect creates a foundation of equality and trust, where both people feel valued for who they are. Time plays a crucial role in this balance. Spending quality time together strengthens the bond, but it's equally important to spend time apart, nurturing your own interests and relationships. This separation doesn't weaken the connection. It strengthens it by allowing both individuals to bring fresh energy, perspectives, and experiences into the relationship. It prevents dependency and keeps the dynamic vibrant and engaging. Independence within a relationship also fosters resilience. When both people maintain their sense of self, they are better equipped to navigate challenges and changes. They can support each other without losing their own footing, creating a partnership that is adaptable and strong. This resilience ensures that the relationship can endure difficulties without eroding the individuality of either person. Connection, on the other hand, thrives on vulnerability. While independence is about knowing and valuing yourself, connection is about sharing yourself with another. This sharing requires openness and trust, allowing the other person to see and support you as you are. Vulnerability deepens intimacy, creating a sense of closeness that strengthens the bond. Balancing these elements requires intention and effort. It's easy to lean too heavily toward one side, becoming overly independent and detached, or overly connected and enmeshed. Both extremes can create tension in the relationship, as one person may feel neglected while the other feels overwhelmed. Striking a balance means continually assessing and adjusting, ensuring that both independence and connection are nurtured. Self-care is an essential part of maintaining independence. When you prioritize your physical, emotional, and mental well-being, you ensure that you are bringing your best self to the relationship. This self-care might involve pursuing hobbies, spending time with friends, or simply taking time to recharge. By taking care of yourself, you create a foundation of strength and stability that enhances the connection. Supporting your partner's independence is equally important. Encouraging them to pursue their passions, spend time with friends, and nurture their own growth shows that you value their individuality. This support strengthens the bond, as it demonstrates trust and confidence in the relationship. It also prevents resentment or dependency, as both people feel free to be themselves. Communication is key to balancing independence and connection. Open and honest dialogue about your needs, feelings, and boundaries creates clarity and understanding. It allows both people to navigate the relationship with intention, ensuring that neither independence nor connection is neglected. This communication also fosters a sense of partnership, as both people work together to create a dynamic that works for them. Balancing independence and connection also involves embracing flexibility. Relationships are not static. They evolve as circumstances and needs change. What works at one stage of the relationship may need to be adjusted at another. Being open to these changes and willing to adapt ensures that the balance remains intact, even as the relationship grows. Gratitude plays a role in this balance as well. Appreciating the other person for who they are, rather than trying to mold them into who you want them to be, creates a sense of freedom and acceptance. Gratitude helps to focus on the positive aspects of the relationship, fostering a sense of connection without diminishing individuality. Independence and connection are not opposing forces. They are complementary elements of a healthy relationship. Independence provides the foundation of self-awareness and strength, while connection adds depth and meaning. Together, they create a partnership that is both supportive and empowering, allowing both people to thrive. Balancing these elements is not always easy, but it is deeply rewarding. It creates a relationship where both people feel seen, valued, and free. It fosters growth, resilience, and intimacy, transforming the connection into a source of joy and inspiration. By maintaining your sense of self while fostering meaningful bonds, you create a relationship that enriches your life and supports your journey. This balance is not just a practice, it is an art, one that brings harmony and fulfillment to both individuals and the connection they share. Balancing independence and connection creates a relationship where both individuals thrive together while preserving their own identities. Yet, even in this balance, the subtle desire to control, whether it's outcomes, emotions, or the other person, can disrupt the harmony of love. Releasing control doesn't mean abandoning care or effort. It means learning to trust the natural flow of relationships and allowing love to unfold without force or expectation. Mindfulness provides the tools to let go, helping us embrace love with openness and presence. rather than grasping tightly out of fear or insecurity. Control often arises from a place of vulnerability. The uncertainty of relationships can feel overwhelming, leading us to seek ways to predict, manage, or direct how things will go. While this desire is rooted in self-protection, it creates tension and diminishes the freedom that love needs to flourish. Mindfulness helps us become aware of this impulse, showing us how to soften our grip and trust the connection itself. One of the most profound ways mindfulness helps us release control is by grounding us in the present moment. Control often stems from fear of the future or attachment to a specific outcome. By focusing on the here and now, mindfulness allows us to fully experience the relationship as it is, rather than trying to shape it into what we think it should be. This presence creates a space for love to grow authentically, free from the constraints of control. Mindfulness also encourages us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment. When the need to control arises, it can trigger feelings of anxiety, frustration, or insecurity. Instead of reacting to these emotions, mindfulness teaches us to acknowledge them with curiosity and compassion. This awareness helps us to understand the root of our need for control, whether it's fear of loss, past experiences, or unmet needs, and to address these underlying issues rather than projecting them onto the relationship. Letting go of control also requires embracing vulnerability. Control often acts as a shield, protecting us from the discomfort of uncertainty or the fear of being hurt. While vulnerability can feel uncomfortable, it is essential for deep connection. Mindfulness helps us to approach vulnerability with courage, allowing us to open our hearts fully and trust in the strength of the relationship. Practicing acceptance is another key aspect of mindfulness that helps us release control. Acceptance doesn't mean resigning ourselves to things we dislike or ignoring challenges. It means recognizing and allowing reality as it is, without resistance. In relationships, this might mean accepting the other person's differences, emotions, or choices without trying to change them. This acceptance creates a foundation of respect and trust, allowing both people to feel valued and free. Mindfulness also teaches us to let go of attachment to specific outcomes. Relationships are dynamic and ever-changing, and holding on to a fixed idea of how things should be can create frustration and disappointment. By releasing these attachments, we create space for the relationship to evolve naturally, embracing its growth and transformation rather than resisting it. This openness allows us to experience love more fully, without the weight of unmet expectations. Another way mindfulness helps us release control is by cultivating self-awareness. Control often arises when we project our own fears, insecurities, or desires onto the relationship. By turning inward and exploring these emotions, we can take responsibility for our own feelings rather than trying to manage the other person's behavior. This self-awareness creates clarity and empowers us to approach the relationship with honesty and authenticity. Trust is an essential element of letting go of control, and mindfulness strengthens this trust by fostering a sense of inner stability. When we trust ourselves, our values, intentions, and ability to navigate challenges, we are less likely to rely on control as a means of feeling secure. This self-trust extends to the relationship, allowing us to believe in the connection and its ability to thrive without constant intervention. Practicing gratitude also helps us release control. Control often focuses on what we fear losing or what we want to change. Gratitude shifts our perspective, reminding us of the beauty and value of what we already have. By appreciating the present moment and the connection as it is, we reduce the need to grasp or manipulate, creating a sense of contentment and ease. Mindfulness encourages us to approach relationships with curiosity rather than expectation. Curiosity allows us to explore and understand the other person without trying to predict or direct their behavior. This openness fosters a deeper connection, as it invites both people to show up authentically without fear of judgment or control. It transforms the relationship into a space of discovery rather than a predetermined script. Releasing control also involves setting intentions rather than expectations. Intentions focus on how we show up in the relationship, our attitudes, actions, and mindset, rather than trying to dictate how the other person should respond. This shift empowers us to take responsibility for our own role in the connection while respecting the other person's autonomy. Mindfulness helps us to recognize and break patterns of control in subtle ways. For example, we might notice when we interrupt or dominate conversations, attempt to fix the other person's emotions, or seek constant reassurance. By bringing awareness to these behaviors, we can choose to respond differently, creating a more balanced and respectful dynamic in the relationship. Letting go of control doesn't mean neglecting the relationship or becoming passive. It means approaching the connection with trust, presence, and authenticity. Mindfulness helps us to find this balance, showing us how to engage fully without grasping or forcing. This balance creates a relationship that feels free and alive, where both people can grow and connect without the constraints of control. Releasing control also enhances our ability to navigate challenges in relationships. Control often arises as a response to conflict or uncertainty, as we try to steer the situation toward a desired outcome. Mindfulness teaches us to approach these moments with patience and openness, allowing the resolution to unfold naturally rather than trying to force it. This approach fosters understanding and collaboration, strengthening the bond between both people. Mindfulness also reminds us that love is not about perfection or certainty. It's about presence and connection. By letting go of control, we allow the relationship to be a reflection of both people's true selves, rather than a projection of our own fears or desires. This authenticity creates a deeper and more meaningful connection, as it is grounded in mutual respect and trust. Ultimately, releasing control in love is an act of freedom for both ourselves and the relationship. It allows us to approach love with an open heart, embracing its beauty and complexity without fear or resistance. Through mindfulness, we learn to trust the flow of connection, finding joy in the present moment and the journey it unfolds. This practice transforms love into a space of acceptance, where both individuals can thrive and grow together in harmony. Letting go of control frees relationships to grow naturally, fostering trust and authenticity. Yet, as we embrace practices like detachment, a quieter but deeply personal challenge often emerges: the weight of guilt. Detachment, though rooted in love and respect, is frequently misunderstood. It can feel like turning away from care or commitment, even when it's about creating space for healthier connections. Navigating guilt while practicing detachment requires clarity, compassion, and a deeper understanding of what detachment truly means in relationships. Guilt often arises because detachment is mistakenly equated with indifference or coldness. This misconception can leave us questioning whether stepping back or releasing expectations makes us less caring. In reality, detachment is the opposite of disengagement. It is a conscious act of loving with freedom, without trying to control or cling. It allows us to honor the other person's individuality and journey while maintaining our own sense of balance and self-respect. One of the first steps in addressing guilt is redefining what detachment means. Detachment does not mean abandoning care, love, or support. It means letting go of the need to dictate or shape the relationship according to our desires. It means trusting that the connection will thrive on mutual respect and authenticity, rather than being held together by control or dependency. This shift in perspective helps to dissolve guilt by showing that detachment is a form of love, not a rejection of it. Guilt often stems from internalized beliefs about responsibility in relationships. We may feel that it's our duty to ensure the other person's happiness or to meet all their needs. While care and support are integral to relationships, taking full responsibility for someone else's emotions or outcomes places an unrealistic burden on ourselves. Mindfulness helps us to recognize these patterns, showing that our role is not to carry the relationship alone, but to share it in a way that respects both people's autonomy. Practicing self-compassion is essential in navigating guilt. Guilt often feeds on harsh self-judgment, making us feel like we're failing or falling short. Self-compassion invites us to approach these feelings with kindness and understanding, recognizing that choosing detachment is not about failing, but about fostering healthier dynamics. This gentleness helps us to move through guilt without being consumed by it, creating space for growth and reflection. Detachment can sometimes trigger guilt because it challenges societal or cultural expectations about relationships. Many of us are taught that love means sacrifice and that putting ourselves first is selfish. These beliefs can make detachment feel like a betrayal of the relationship, even when it's necessary for its health. By questioning these narratives and embracing a more balanced view of love, we can release the guilt tied to outdated or harmful expectations. Communication plays a vital role in navigating guilt while practicing detachment. When we choose to step back or set boundaries, explaining our intentions can help to alleviate misunderstandings. Sharing that our goal is to create a healthier and more respectful connection shows that detachment is not about pulling away, but about building a stronger foundation. This transparency fosters trust and reduces the likelihood of guilt or resentment. Guilt often thrives on fear of being misunderstood, of causing pain, or of losing the relationship. Addressing these fears requires courage and a willingness to trust in the strength of the connection. By focusing on the long-term benefits of detachment, such as mutual growth and respect, we can find reassurance that our choices are rooted in love and care. This perspective helps to quiet the voice of guilt, replacing it with confidence and clarity. Another way to navigate guilt is by focusing on the outcomes of detachment. Detachment creates space for authenticity, growth, and balance, which ultimately strengthen the relationship. Reflecting on these positive effects helps to shift the focus from short-term discomfort to long-term well-being, making it easier to move past guilt and embrace the practice with confidence. Detachment also requires such trust to the other person's resilience. Guilt often arises from the belief that stepping back will harm the other person or weaken the relationship. In truth, detachment allows both people to grow stronger as individuals, which enriches the connection. Trusting that the other person can navigate their own emotions and experiences reduces the need for over-responsibility and helps to alleviate guilt. Letting go of guilt involves acknowledging and accepting our limitations. We cannot be everything for someone else, and trying to do so often leads to burnout or resentment. Recognizing that detachment is an act of self-care, as well as a way to respect the other person's journey, helps to release the guilt tied to unrealistic expectations of ourselves. Gratitude is another powerful tool for navigating guilt. By focusing on the positive aspects of the relationship and the growth that detachment brings, we can shift our perspective from guilt to appreciation. Gratitude reminds us of the love and care that underpin our choices, helping to replace self-doubt with confidence and peace. Mindfulness helps us to stay present with guilt without letting it overwhelm us. When guilt arises, mindfulness invites us to observe it with curiosity and compassion, rather than reacting impulsively or suppressing it. This awareness allows us to explore the roots of guilt, understand its message, and respond in a way that aligns with our values and intentions. Detachment also involves letting go of perfectionism. Guilt often arises when we hold ourselves to impossible standards, expecting to navigate relationships without ever causing discomfort or conflict. Embracing the reality that relationships are complex and that growth sometimes involves discomfort helps to release the guilt tied to these unrealistic expectations. It reminds us that imperfection is not failure, but a natural part of connection. Practicing detachment with intention helps to alleviate guilt. By staying clear about our reasons for choosing detachment and the outcomes we hope to achieve, we can approach the practice with confidence and purpose. This intentionality reduces the likelihood of second-guessing ourselves or succumbing to guilt, as it reinforces that our choices are guided by love and care. Navigating guilt requires patience. Guilt is a deeply ingrained emotion, and releasing it takes time and practice. Each step we take toward detachment helps to build trust in ourselves and the relationship, gradually replacing guilt with a sense of freedom and clarity. By staying committed to the practice and approaching ourselves with compassion, we can navigate guilt with grace, transforming it into an opportunity for growth and connection. Detachment, when embraced fully, becomes a powerful act of love, both for ourselves and for the people we care about. Detachment, when embraced with clarity and compassion, liberates us from guilt and creates space for deeper authenticity in relationships. But this is only the beginning of what love can offer when practiced with openness and freedom. Loving as a practice of growth and freedom transforms relationships from spaces of dependency into pathways of mutual evolution. It invites us to explore how letting go of attachment enhances emotional resilience, deepens intimacy, and allows both individuals to flourish independently and together. Love rooted in freedom is not bound by fear or need. It thrives on trust, respect, and the willingness to see each other as whole and evolving individuals. This form of love challenges us to step away from possessiveness and control, replacing them with a commitment to nurture each other's growth. By loving in this way, we create a connection that is not about holding on, but about walking alongside one another in mutual support. Practicing love as growth begins with a mindset shift. Traditional ideas of love often emphasize permanence and exclusivity, creating pressure to maintain a specific dynamic at all costs. This perspective can lead to stagnation, as both individuals become confined by the fear of change. Embracing love as a practice of growth, however, means welcoming evolution as a natural and enriching part of the relationship. It allows love to adapt and flourish, reflecting the ever-changing nature of life. This practice also encourages self-awareness. Growth within love starts with understanding our own patterns, needs, and aspirations. When we take the time to reflect on our inner world, we bring greater clarity and intention to the relationship. Self-awareness allows us to communicate openly and honestly, creating a foundation of trust and understanding. It also helps us to recognize when attachment or fear is holding us back, allowing us to choose love rooted in freedom instead. Emotional freedom within love is not about distancing ourselves, but about releasing the barriers that prevent genuine connection. When we let go of attachment, we remove the weight of expectations that often cloud relationships. This creates space for vulnerability and openness, where both people feel free to express their true selves without fear of judgment or rejection. Emotional freedom fosters a sense of safety and intimacy that strengthens the bond. Loving with freedom also means celebrating individuality. Each person brings their own experiences, dreams, and passions to the relationship, and honoring these differences enriches the connection. Instead of trying to merge identities or control each other's choices, love as growth allows both people to shine in their uniqueness. This celebration of individuality creates a dynamic and inspiring partnership where both feel valued and respected. Freedom in love also encourages us to embrace uncertainty. Relationships, like all aspects of life, are unpredictable, and trying to control every aspect of them often leads to frustration and disconnection. By accepting the unknown, we cultivate trust in the relationship's ability to navigate challenges and changes. This trust allows love to thrive, even in the face of uncertainty, as it is rooted in faith rather than fear. Practicing love as growth also involves active listening. Truly hearing the other person's thoughts, feelings, and experiences deepens understanding and connection. It shows that we value their perspective and are committed to supporting their journey. This practice of listening creates a relationship where both people feel seen and heard, fostering a sense of mutual respect and care. Loving with freedom also means being willing to let go when necessary. Sometimes, growth within a relationship requires space or even separation. While this can be painful, it is also a profound act of love to release someone in order to honor their path. Letting go does not diminish the connection. It honors its truth and creates the possibility for continued growth, whether together or apart. Another aspect of lovers' freedom is nurturing resilience. Relationships are not free from challenges, and growth often involves discomfort or conflict. Loving with freedom means approaching these moments with patience and a willingness to learn. It involves seeing challenges as opportunities for growth rather than as threats to the relationship. This perspective strengthens the bond as both people work together to navigate difficulties with compassion and understanding. Gratitude plays a central role in this practice. Appreciating the present moment and the connection as it is helps to shift the focus from fear of loss to celebration of what is. Gratitude reminds us that love is a gift, not a possession, and that its value lies in the experiences and growth it brings. This perspective transforms love into a source of joy and inspiration, free from the constraints of attachment. Freedom in love also fosters creativity. When relationships are not bound by rigid expectations, they become spaces of exploration and discovery. Both people are free to express themselves fully, try new things, and support each other's growth in creative ways. This openness keeps the relationship vibrant and engaging, as it reflects the dynamic nature of love itself. Practicing love as growth also involves embracing impermanence. Relationships, like all things, evolve over time, and resisting this change often creates tension or stagnation. By accepting impermanence, we allow love to flow naturally, adapting to the needs and growth of both individuals. This acceptance brings a sense of peace and resilience, as it honors the truth of love's ever-changing nature. One of the most powerful aspects of loving freely is the way it transforms conflict. When love is rooted in attachment, conflict often feels like a threat to the relationship. But when love is practiced as growth, conflict becomes an opportunity for deeper understanding and connection. It allows both people to express their needs and perspectives while working together to find solutions that honor their individuality and the relationship. Love as freedom also encourages us to prioritize self-care. Taking care of our own well-being ensures that we can show up fully in the relationship, offering love from a place of wholeness rather than need. Self-care creates a foundation of strength and stability that supports both individual and shared growth, enriching the connection. Loving as a practice of growth and freedom reminds us that love is not about perfection. It's about presence, effort, and authenticity. By letting go of the need to meet unrealistic ideals, we create space for love to flourish as it is, beautiful, imperfect, and deeply meaningful. This approach transforms relationships into spaces of mutual inspiration and support, where both people feel free to grow and thrive together. Through this practice, we discover that love is not a static state, but a dynamic journey of connection and discovery. It invites us to embrace change, celebrate individuality, and nurture the bond with openness and respect. In this way, loving as a practice of growth and freedom becomes a source of profound joy and fulfillment, creating relationships that honor the best in both individuals and the connection they share. Loving as a practice of growth and freedom teaches us to nurture relationships that honor individuality and inspire mutual development. Yet, even with the most balanced and fulfilling connections, there is a deeper truth. Our ability to love freely and authentically stems from how we live and focus on our own lives. When our attention becomes scattered or lost in distractions, we risk losing touch with the essence of who we are. Buddhism offers timeless wisdom to help us center ourselves, realign our energy, and cultivate a life of intention and clarity. Focusing on your life is not about ignoring others or retreating into isolation. Instead, it's about building a foundation of inner stability and purpose, so your actions, relationships, and goals reflect your truest values. This focus brings depth to your existence, allowing you to live with intention rather than being pulled in countless directions. It is a practice of being present, of connecting with the flow of life without being overwhelmed by its demands. Clarity begins with understanding your priorities. Life presents endless distractions, each vying for your time and energy. Without awareness, it's easy to become consumed by what feels urgent rather than what truly matters. Buddhism teaches the importance of mindful reflection, a practice that allows you to examine your choices and identify what aligns with your purpose. This clarity helps you say yes to what enriches your life and no to what drains it, creating a path that reflects your authentic self. Focusing on your life also requires cultivating mindfulness. When your mind is scattered, jumping between the past, future, and present, it becomes difficult to fully engage with your experiences. Mindfulness grounds you in the now, sharpening your attention and helping you connect deeply with each moment. This presence transforms even the simplest actions into opportunities for growth and fulfillment, as you begin to approach life with curiosity and awareness. Buddhism encourages us to embrace simplicity as a way to focus on what truly matters. A cluttered life, whether physically, mentally, or emotionally, creates noise that drowns out clarity and purpose. Simplifying your life is not about deprivation, it's about making space for what brings you joy and meaning. This might involve letting go of unnecessary possessions, commitments, or habits that no longer serve you. In doing so, you free up energy and attention for what truly enriches your existence. Inner focus also involves addressing the habits of the mind. Negative thought patterns, such as worry, doubt, or self-criticism, can pull you away from your purpose and cloud your perception. Buddhism teaches the practice of observing your thoughts without judgment, allowing you to recognize unhelpful patterns and gently redirect your mind. This practice cultivates a sense of inner calm and clarity, helping you stay focused on what matters most. Gratitude is another powerful tool for centering your life. By appreciating what you already have, you shift your focus from lack to abundance. Gratitude helps you find fulfillment in the present, rather than constantly striving for something more. This practice deepens your connection to life, reminding you of the beauty and value in each moment. It also encourages you to align your actions with what truly brings you joy and contentment. Focusing on your life also means cultivating discipline. Discipline is not about rigid control, but about creating habits that support your goals and values. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of consistency and intention in building a life of meaning. By establishing daily practices such as meditation, mindful breathing, or journaling, you create a structure that supports your growth and keeps you connected to your purpose. Letting go of comparison is essential for maintaining focus. Constantly measuring yourself against others pulls your attention outward, away from your own path. Buddhism teaches that comparison creates suffering by fostering feelings of inadequacy or superiority. By focusing on your journey, you honor your unique experiences and growth, freeing yourself from the weight of external validation or judgment. Self-compassion is another cornerstone of focusing on your life. It's easy to become discouraged when progress feels slow or when challenges arise. Buddhism reminds us to approach ourselves with kindness, recognizing that growth is a gradual process. Self-compassion allows you to stay committed to your path, even in the face of setbacks, by fostering resilience and inner strength. Focusing on your life also involves cultivating a sense of purpose. Purpose is not necessarily a grand or fixed goal. It is the intention that guides your actions and choices. Buddhism encourages us to reflect on what brings meaning to our lives, whether it's caring for loved ones, pursuing creative passions, or contributing to the well-being of others. This sense of purpose provides direction, helping you navigate life with clarity and intention. Boundaries are essential for maintaining focus. Without boundaries, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the demands of others or the chaos of daily life. Buddhism teaches the importance of protecting your energy and time, allowing you to prioritize what aligns with your values. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect and care, ensuring that your life remains balanced and centered. Mindful relationships play a vital role in focusing on your life. Surrounding yourself with people who support your growth and share your values creates an environment of encouragement and inspiration. At the same time, Buddhism reminds us to release relationships that drain or distract us, allowing space for connections that enrich our lives. This practice fosters a sense of harmony and alignment in your interactions. Focusing on your life also involves embracing impermanence. Change is an inherent part of existence, and clinging to what is familiar or comfortable can hinder growth. Buddhism teaches us to accept change with grace, using it as an opportunity for renewal and transformation. This perspective helps you to adapt and stay connected to your path, even as circumstances evolve. Creativity is another aspect of focus. Engaging in creative pursuits allows you to express your unique perspective and connect with your inner self. Buddhism encourages us to approach creativity with mindfulness, treating it as a practice of exploration and presence rather than perfection. This approach fosters joy and inspiration, enhancing your connection to life. Focusing on your life requires patience. Growth and clarity do not happen overnight. They are the result of consistent effort and intention. Buddhism teaches the value of patience, reminding us that each step forward, no matter how small, contributes to our journey. By staying committed and present, you build a life that reflects your values and aspirations. Focusing on your life is not a destination, but an ongoing practice. It is about staying true to yourself, aligning your actions with your purpose, and cultivating a sense of presence and gratitude. Through this practice, you create a life of meaning and fulfillment, one that allows you to navigate challenges with grace and embrace each moment fully. This focus not only enriches your own existence, but also deepens your ability to connect with and support others, creating a ripple of growth and harmony in the world around you. Focusing on your life brings clarity and purpose. But even with the best intentions, the mind can become an obstacle. Thoughts, if left unchecked, can create endless cycles of worry, distraction, or doubt, pulling you away from the present and clouding your ability to act with clarity. Learning to stop your thoughts from controlling you isn't about silencing the mind completely. It's about understanding its patterns and cultivating practices that help you regain mastery over your inner world. Through Buddhist teachings and Zen wisdom, there are profound yet practical ways to navigate your thoughts with peace and awareness. The mind is a powerful tool, but it can also be unruly. When thoughts dominate, they can distort reality, turning small worries into insurmountable problems or replaying past regrets that no longer serve you. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a restless monkey, leaping from one branch to another, never staying still. To free yourself from its grip, you must learn to observe its movements without being entangled by them. Observation creates a critical distance, allowing you to witness thoughts for what they are, fleeting moments rather than absolute truths. Mindfulness is one of the most effective ways to reclaim control over your thoughts. By anchoring yourself in the present moment, you reduce the power of thoughts that pull you into the past or future. Mindfulness doesn't mean banishing thoughts. It means noticing them without judgment and gently bringing your attention back to the here and now. This practice is like training a wandering dog to stay by your side, not through force, but with consistent, gentle guidance. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of understanding the impermanence of thoughts. No matter how overwhelming a thought may feel, it is not permanent. It will pass, like clouds moving across the sky. By reminding yourself of this impermanence, you reduce the urge to react impulsively or cling to the thought. Instead, you allow it to come and go naturally, without giving it more weight than it deserves. Breathing techniques are a simple yet transformative tool for managing intrusive thoughts. The breath is always with you, providing a steady rhythm to anchor your attention. By focusing on the sensation of each inhale and exhale, you redirect your mind away from the whirlwind of thoughts. This practice creates a calming effect, helping you regain control and clarity. Zen teachings often use stories to illustrate profound truths. One such story tells of a monk who carried a heavy sack everywhere he went. When asked why he didn't put it down, he replied, "It is my burden to bear." This reflects how we often carry the weight of unnecessary thoughts, believing they are ours to hold. The truth is, you can set them down. Recognizing what thoughts are worth carrying and which ones are better released is a key step in freeing yourself from mental control. Self-compassion plays a vital role in this journey. The mind can be harsh, replaying mistakes or criticizing actions. By treating yourself with kindness and understanding, you soften this internal dialogue. Self-compassion reminds you that everyone struggles with their thoughts, and that progress, not perfection, is the goal. This shift creates space for growth and healing. Redirecting your focus is another powerful technique. When a thought becomes intrusive, shifting your attention to a constructive activity or sensory experience can break its hold. Whether it's walking in nature, engaging in a creative pursuit, or simply feeling the ground beneath your feet, redirecting focus helps to ground you in the present and disrupt the cycle of overthinking. Acceptance is at the heart of Buddhist wisdom. Resisting thoughts often strengthens their grip, creating a tug-of-war that leaves you feeling drained. Acceptance means acknowledging the thought without judgment or resistance. This doesn't mean agreeing with it. It means allowing it to exist without letting it define you. Through acceptance, you disarm the thought's power and create room for peace. Cultivating gratitude shifts your mental focus from negativity to abundance. When thoughts spiral into worry or self-doubt, pausing to reflect on what you're grateful for can change the narrative. Gratitude not only uplifts your mood, but also reminds you of the bigger picture, reducing the intensity of unhelpful thoughts. Buddhism also teaches the value of detachment. Thoughts often control us because we identify with them too closely, believing they define who we are. Detachment involves seeing thoughts as separate from yourself, as passing mental events rather than fixed parts of your identity. This perspective creates freedom, allowing you to choose which thoughts to engage with and which to let pass. Physical movement can also help quiet the mind. Activities like yoga, tai chi, or even a simple walk encourage a connection between body and mind, redirecting mental energy into physical flow. Movement integrates mindfulness into action, grounding you in the present and easing the grip of intrusive thoughts. Zen emphasizes the importance of simplicity. A cluttered mind often reflects a cluttered life. Simplifying your environment, schedule, or commitments can create mental space, reducing the overwhelm that fuels racing thoughts. Simplicity brings focus, clarity, and a sense of ease that allows you to approach life with greater presence. Meditation is perhaps the most well-known Buddhist practice for managing thoughts. Through regular meditation, you train your mind to sit with thoughts without reacting to them. Meditation strengthens your ability to observe, accept, and release, creating a foundation of calm that carries into daily life. Even a few minutes of daily meditation can create profound changes over time. Finding meaning in your thoughts can transform how you relate to them. Instead of seeing intrusive thoughts as burdens, view them as opportunities for growth. What are they teaching you about your fears, desires, or beliefs? By approaching thoughts with curiosity rather than resistance, you turn them into tools for self-awareness and transformation. The journey to stop your thoughts from controlling you is not about erasing the mind's activity, but about learning to live harmoniously with it. These practices, rooted in Buddhist and Zen teachings, empower you to take back your inner freedom. As you cultivate these habits, you'll find that thoughts no longer dictate your actions or emotions, but instead become gentle companions on your path to peace and clarity. Through mindfulness, compassion, and intention, you reclaim the space to live fully, deeply, and freely. Gaining mastery over your thoughts frees your mind and allows you to engage fully with the present. Yet there is another level of transformation waiting to be unlocked: the ability to reprogram your mind to cultivate endless energy. This energy isn't just about physical stamina, but includes mental clarity, emotional resilience, and a vibrant sense of purpose. Buddhist wisdom offers profound practices and insights to help you tap into this inexhaustible energy, creating a life filled with vitality, intention, and balance. Energy begins with the mind. Thoughts, beliefs, and habits can either drain or replenish your energy levels. When your mind is cluttered with worry, doubt, or negativity, it weighs you down, sapping your strength and motivation. Reprogramming your mind means shifting these mental patterns to align with positivity, clarity, and purpose. This transformation starts with awareness, recognizing the habits and thought cycles that drain you, and consciously choosing to cultivate those that uplift and energize. Buddhism teaches that energy flows where attention goes. When your mind is scattered, focusing on too many things at once, your energy is dispersed, leaving you feeling depleted. Bringing your focus back to the present moment consolidates your mental resources, allowing you to engage fully with what's in front of you. This presence enhances efficiency and reduces the mental fatigue that comes from overthinking or multitasking. Gratitude is a powerful tool for generating energy. By focusing on what you're thankful for, you shift your perspective from lack to abundance. Gratitude uplifts your spirit and creates a sense of joy and fulfillment, fueling your mental and emotional reserves. This practice doesn't just lift your mood, it energizes your entire being by replacing draining thoughts with ones that inspire and motivate. Mindful breathing is another cornerstone of reprogramming your mind for energy. The breath is a direct link between your body and mind, and learning to control it can profoundly influence your energy levels. Deep, intentional breathing calms the mind, reduces stress, and oxygenates the body, creating a surge of vitality. Buddhist practices often emphasize the power of the breath to center yourself and harness the energy you need to meet life's demands. Letting go of attachments is essential for reclaiming your energy. Clinging to fears, grudges, or outdated beliefs creates mental tension, consuming your reserves. By practicing detachment, you free up this trapped energy, allowing it to flow into areas that nourish and inspire you. This release creates a sense of lightness and clarity, making it easier to approach life with enthusiasm and purpose. Meditation is a transformative practice for cultivating energy. Through meditation, you train your mind to focus, release distractions, and access a state of inner stillness. This stillness replenishes your mental and emotional reserves, providing a wellspring of energy that carries into every aspect of your life. Regular meditation also strengthens your resilience, allowing you to face challenges without being drained by stress or anxiety. Buddhism teaches the importance of aligning with your purpose as a source of energy. When your actions and goals are connected to what truly matters to you, they become a wellspring of motivation and vitality. Reflecting on your values and intentions helps you prioritize what energizes you and let go of what doesn't. This alignment creates a sense of flow, where your energy is directed toward meaningful pursuits rather than wasted on distractions or obligations that don't serve you. Physical movement rooted in mindfulness is another way to boost your energy. Practices like yoga, tai chi, or walking meditation integrate the body and mind, creating a harmonious flow of energy. Movement helps to release physical tension, clear mental clutter, and rejuvenate your spirit. Engaging in mindful physical activity is not about exertion, but about creating balance and vitality. Buddhism also emphasizes the role of simplicity in cultivating energy. A cluttered mind or environment drains your resources as you constantly navigate unnecessary distractions. Simplifying your surroundings, commitments, or thought patterns creates space for energy to flow freely. This simplicity doesn't mean doing less. It means focusing on what truly matters, creating a sense of clarity and intention that energizes you. Detoxing your mind from negativity is a key step in reprogramming it for energy. Negative thoughts, whether about yourself, others, or circumstances, act as mental drains, pulling your focus away from what uplifts and inspires you. Practicing mindfulness allows you to recognize these thoughts and replace them with constructive, empowering ones. This shift transforms your mental landscape, creating a fertile ground for energy and positivity. Connecting with nature is another way to access boundless energy. The natural world is a source of renewal and inspiration, providing a sense of grounding and vitality. Spending time in nature, whether through a walk, sitting under a tree, or simply observing the beauty around you, recharges your mind and body. This connection reminds you of the simplicity and abundance of life, creating a deep well of energy to draw from. Mindful eating is a practical way to align your physical and mental energy. Consuming food with awareness, savoring each bite, and choosing nourishing options helps to fuel your body and mind. This practice is not about restriction, but about honoring the energy and life force within what you consume. It transforms eating into a meditative act, enhancing your connection to the present moment and replenishing your reserves. Reprogramming your mind for energy also involves cultivating joy. Joy is a powerful source of vitality, uplifting your spirit and energizing your actions. Engaging in activities that bring you joy, whether through creative expression, connection with loved ones, or pursuing passions, revitalizes your mind and body. Buddhism teaches that joy is not found in grand achievements, but in the simple present moments that fill your life with meaning. Patience is essential in this process. Reprogramming your mind and cultivating inexhaustible energy is not a one-time act, but an ongoing practice. Each small step, whether through mindfulness, gratitude, or self-care, contributes to a larger transformation. Buddhism reminds us to approach this journey with kindness and persistence, trusting that each effort brings us closer to a life filled with vitality, clarity, and balance. By integrating these practices into your daily life, you create a foundation of energy that sustains and empowers you. This energy is not fleeting or dependent on external circumstances. It comes from within, cultivated through intention and mindfulness. With Buddhist wisdom as your guide, you unlock the potential for endless vitality, creating a life that is not only energized, but deeply fulfilling and aligned with your truest self. Reprogramming your mind to cultivate energy reveals the immense power you hold to transform your life. But energy, clarity, and purpose are sustained most profoundly when they are rooted in self-love. Without a deep sense of love for yourself, even the most vibrant energy can waver, and the most focused mind can lose direction. Buddhism and Zen teach that self-love is not a fleeting emotion, but a practice, a way of living with compassion, acceptance, and reverence for your own being. These teachings offer timeless guidance on how to nurture this love and unlock the strength and peace it brings. Loving oneself begins with self-awareness. To truly love yourself, you must know yourself, not the version shaped by external expectations or fleeting emotions, but the core of who you are. Self-awareness is cultivated by turning inward, observing your thoughts, feelings, and desires without judgment. It's about acknowledging your strengths and accepting your imperfections with kindness. This practice creates a foundation for self-love, as it allows you to embrace your authentic self rather than chasing an idealized version. Compassion is at the heart of Buddhist teachings on self-love. Compassion for oneself means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer to a close friend. It involves recognizing that struggles, mistakes, and imperfections are part of the human experience, not personal failings. By practicing self-compassion, you create a safe space within yourself, a place where you can heal, grow, and thrive without fear of judgment or rejection. Letting go of self-criticism is another essential aspect of self-love. The inner voice that critiques and doubts can be one of the biggest obstacles to loving yourself. Buddhism encourages mindfulness as a way to quiet this voice, allowing you to observe it without attaching to its negativity. By recognizing that these thoughts are not truths, but passing mental events, you free yourself from their grip. This practice opens the door to a kinder and more supportive relationship with yourself. Gratitude plays a transformative role in self-love. Appreciating your own qualities, efforts, and achievements shifts your focus from what you lack to what you possess. Gratitude doesn't mean ignoring areas for growth. It means valuing who you are right now, while striving to become even more aligned with your highest self. This perspective creates a sense of wholeness and fulfillment, nurturing the love you feel for yourself. Buddhism teaches the importance of balance in loving oneself. True self-love is not about self-indulgence or narcissism. It's about caring for yourself in a way that supports your well-being and growth. Kun deti matu einsti mainsis. Balance means prioritizing your needs without neglecting your responsibilities, setting boundaries without isolating yourself, and pursuing joy without clinging to fleeting pleasures. This harmony allows self-love to flourish as a source of strength and guidance. Forgiveness is another cornerstone of self-love. Holding on to guilt, shame, or regret weighs heavily on the heart, preventing you from fully embracing yourself. Buddhism emphasizes the practice of forgiveness, not as a way to excuse mistakes, but as a way to release the burden they create. Forgiving yourself involves acknowledging your actions, learning from them, and letting go of the self-judgment that keeps you stuck. This act of release frees you to move forward with renewed love and acceptance. Presence is essential in the practice of self-love. Often we get caught up in comparing ourselves to others or longing for a different version of ourselves, whether in the past or the future. Buddhism teaches that true peace and love can only be found in the present moment. By grounding yourself in the now, you connect with the reality of who you are and the life you are living, creating space for genuine self-appreciation. Connecting with your body is another way to cultivate self-love. Your body is a vessel that carries you through life, and nurturing it with care and respect is an act of love. Mindful practices such as yoga, meditation, or simply paying attention to your breath help you develop a deeper connection with your physical self. This connection fosters gratitude and reverence for the body's strength and resilience, enhancing your overall sense of self-worth. Self-love also involves setting intentions rather than expectations. Expectations often lead to disappointment or self-judgment when things don't go as planned. Intentions, on the other hand, focus on how you approach life, your mindset, effort, and attitude, without attaching to specific outcomes. This shift allows you to embrace your journey with kindness and flexibility, cultivating love and acceptance for yourself along the way. Embracing impermanence is another Buddhist teaching that supports self-love. Change is a natural part of life, and clinging to a fixed image of yourself can create suffering. By accepting that you are constantly evolving, you allow yourself to grow and adapt without fear. This perspective nurtures self-love by celebrating the dynamic, ever-changing nature of who you are. Self-love is also about creating space for joy. Engaging in activities that bring you happiness and fulfillment reinforces your worth and nurtures your spirit. Whether it's pursuing a hobby, spending time in nature, or simply resting when you need to, prioritizing joy is a way to honor and love yourself. Buddhism teaches that joy is not found in external achievements, but in the simple present moments that connect you to your inner self. Compassion extends to how you speak to yourself. Words have power, and the language you use in your internal dialogue shapes your relationship with yourself. Speaking to yourself with kindness, encouragement, and understanding reinforces self-love, while harsh or critical words diminish it. This practice requires mindfulness, as it involves becoming aware of your self-talk and consciously choosing words that uplift rather than tear down. Self-love is a practice, not a destination. It is something you cultivate daily through your thoughts, actions, and intentions. Buddhism reminds us to approach this practice with patience and gentleness, knowing that growth takes time. Each small act of love and kindness toward yourself strengthens your foundation, creating a life rooted in compassion, balance, and joy. By embracing these teachings, you create a deeper connection with yourself, one that is not dependent on external validation or fleeting emotions. This love becomes a source of strength and peace, allowing you to navigate life with confidence and clarity. Through self-love, you unlock the ability to live authentically and share your light with the world. Love, without losing yourself, is not just an idea. It's a transformative journey. By embracing the principles of Buddhism and Zen, you learn to nurture authentic connections without clinging, to balance independence and intimacy, and to let love flow with trust, compassion, and freedom. Love, when practiced mindfully, becomes a force that strengthens you, enriches your relationships, and inspires you to live with purpose and peace. Letting go of attachments, embracing impermanence, and practicing loving kindness allow you to connect without fear and give without expectations. You discover that love is not about possession or control, but about growth, yours and that of those you care about. It's about creating a space where both individuals can thrive, supported by respect, presence, and equanimity. This kind of love doesn't drain you, it energizes you. It's a love that liberates, not confines. Now, take a moment to reflect. How have these teachings resonated with your relationships or your own journey of self-love? Share your thoughts, your experiences, or even a single insight in the comments below. Your story could inspire someone else walking a similar path. If you found value in this exploration, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and join our community of seekers. Turn on the notifications, and together, let's continue learning, growing, and transforming through the timeless wisdom of Buddhism and beyond. Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay mindful and stay connected. Stay connected.